Tasting notes, how are they for you? Are they a help or a hindrance? Are they an inspiration or an annoyance? Are they necessary or nonsense? Let's explore them a wee bit tonight. Let's have a wee bit of a game and see how we got on with them. And I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to another Thursday night. Fantastic to see you all. I've been looking forward to hanging out with you for a wee session talking about tasting notes. Something that we did last year. We tried it for the first time last year, but we've been looking forward to kind of slicker, more refined take on it again. Wonderful to see so many of you. That must be a new record, by the way. That's 76 Schrodinger's likes I'm looking at. Fantastic. Thank you all so much for the support. I know you have a bit of fun with that as well, but it's really reassuring for me to see that you're excited about hanging out on a Thursday night for another wee vPub session. Right at the head of things, I'm going to mention this now just in case I forget to mention it a wee bit later. I had been promising you a vPub next week with the boys from Hunter Lane to talk about Arnaho Distillery over on Islay. Through some communication issues I had with Scott and Andrew, they're actually abroad just now and they're dealing with all sorts of issues with hotel isolation and things due to business travel and stuff just now. It was awkward for them. We missed our get-together and tech check this week, and I took the opportunity to suggest to them that we push it down the road a wee bit so that I could take Easter week off next week and get a wee break. The bad news for you means that while the Arnaho thing will still happen a wee bit down the line, there's not going to be a vPub next week. I'm going to take a wee break for Easter. I hope that's okay with you, but I'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time to hang out with our friend Roddy to talk about oddball whiskies. So yes, just letting everybody know that there's not a vPub next week. I hope that's okay. Let me pull up this chat. Actually, I realised that I don't even have the chat up and ready. Too busy hanging out and chatting to my guests behind the scenes. Also, at the head of the show, I'd like to put a shout out for my friends over in Indiana. Scotch for Dummies. They've been doing live streams on a Thursday night now for, it must be going on for 4 or 5 years. They've been putting out that Thursday night slot. Tonight is the last night that they will be doing a Thursday night. They're moving their entire thing to a Sunday. So if you want to join Scotch for Dummies, I know it's for Europeans, it's going to be quite late. It's about 2 or 3 in the morning for us. But if you're in the West, if you're in the States or Canada or whatever, you might want to go and hang out with Andrew, Sean, Drew and Mark over at Scotch for Dummies on their channel and enjoy their last ever Thursday night slot. They'll be moving to Sundays sometime down the road. Also, just before I jump in to the lounge and welcome all of you guys, thanks to all my patrons. They got first bite at the merch store. I know that you've been asking and asking. You've been super, super patient with me pulling it together. But supply and getting hold of things has been really difficult. The pieces came together in the last couple of weeks and the merch store went live a couple of days ago. The patrons have been in there, but I can tell you that as far as I'm aware, nothing is sold out yet. So the new t-shirts are available, the black vPub Barfly t-shirt, the navy one, as well as the acrylic glass toppers back in stock as well, with a nice new wee black pouch too. I know that so many of you have been waiting for them, and they're finally there. Sorry it took me so long to get it sorted. Let's jump in to the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. Alistair Gray is in, my friend up north. Alistair, so good to see you, buddy. Andy C is here. Andy just across the other side of the city from me. Drew from Arizona all the way over the Atlantic. Drew and Andy, so wonderful to see you both. Neil Cochran, sorry Neil, another Glaswegian. That looks like a new name as well. Ard Octofroig. I think I can decipher from that name, Ard Octofroig, what style of whiskey you like. But it looks like a new name, my friend, and it's wonderful to welcome you in here. Lee J. Brown is here as well. Good to see you, Lee J. Luna Aaron, Menno's multi-mission over in Belgium. We're getting our heads together for another Menno quiz. I'm going to suggest that maybe the 15th, when Roddy's on, could be a fantastic date to pick for another Menno quiz as well. I know they're brutal, I know they're challenging, but they're always great, great fun. Menno, if you're up for it, let me know. Hans Waldman, that's Alexander in Switzerland. Good to see you, Alexander. Wonderful to see you. Gary in the UK. Ryan Sutherland in the UK. Stefan Novak, my friend from Germany. Stefan, you're going to get one of your whiskies that you sampled to me a few weeks back, put front and centre on the vPub that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, buddy. It's good to see you, and it's nice to welcome you here. Glenn Anderson is here. Glenn, wonderful to welcome you. Nice to see you in. Pete Head, that's Frank. Good to see you, Frank. Whiskey Resource, that's another new name, I think. Dan Fordham is here. Island Hopper Stewart, good to see you. Good evening, Roy. So enjoyed Dave's introduction to alcohol with a virtual you and Whiskey Tribe. I hope everybody's had a chance to see that video. I think they did a great, great job. So good a job, in fact, that they're being called out by some of the comments in the chat that it was a setup and it's not actually true and things. I guarantee you it's true. I've been speaking to Dave now for 18 months about this whole thing, this whole setup. It was supposed to be happening with me here in Scotland, and he's stuck in the States because of the situation that we're all in. So reaching out to the Whiskey Tribe seemed like a good idea. Little did I realise just how good an idea it was. They've got all that set up over there at the campus in Austin in Texas. Fantastic red carpet treatment that Dave got for him and his family. Please go to the Whiskey Tribe channel. Have a wee look at that video that went out last Saturday. So it's almost a week old now. And just feel good video. Just a great, great video. And yes, I'm a wee bit like a virtual participant on a screen there, but it was nice for me to be able to beam in and be part of it. Nothing more to say. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Fantastic. And Stuart, I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. Jason Bradford is in. We've been chatting in the background. Jason, good to have you here. A cognac drinker exploring whiskey. Good to have you, Jason. Nice to see you. And Gavin is here. David Owen is here. Chris Wren. Falsgraf. Good to see you, Falsgraf. So many more. My cousin Kevin's in. Jimmy Jazz is in. Helen is here. Bruno is here. Callum. So many of you. And I've got a virtual dram already here from my friend in Canada, Jimmy Legg. I can easily wait 2 weeks if Roddy is the reward. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm for 2 weeks' time. And Roddy, and thank you for your virtual dram, my friend. Good to have you. Jimmy Legg joined us last night as well when I dropped in on the No Nonsense Whiskey live stream to celebrate his 10,000 subscribers and his 5 years on the channel as well. Great fun we had too, and it was wonderful to see so many familiar faces. Rule is here. Matt Bishop, Whiskey Games. Absolutely amazing. Donald Pass Whiskey saying, heading to work in a few minutes. I know you're always working, Tim. It's nice to have you in tonight after work. Going to watch the replay and open my first Loch Lomond 18. Have a great Easter week. I'm getting a Moderna 2 on Easter Sunday. Good for you, Tim. Good for you. I am booked in. I'm getting mine in mid-April as well. It's bizarre how excited we all are over getting injections, right? Good to see Jerry Miller and Gregor in as well. Time for a dram. Gregor saying, I've made a tough decision today. I'm moving away from Scotch whiskey and going to explore all that American rye whiskey has to offer. Side note, checked today's date. I was already there, Gregor, before I read your full stop there. I wouldn't imagine that for a second. Petey McPeakface has bought me a dram to say thank you, Roy, for all the fantastic things you've done for the community and my whiskey journey personally. Petey McPeakface is folk like you that make this an absolute privilege. Thank you, buddy. Thank you not only for the nice words and the virtual dram, but for hanging out with us and bringing some positivity, my friend. Nice to have you. Cheers to you. So here we go again. Tasting notes. I remember coming into whiskey and overhearing and reading and seeing on video and witnessing this tasting notes thing. And it reminded me a lot of what I'd seen kind of stereotypically in the wine environment and things like that, people talking about all of these notes and tastes, and me just thinking it was ludicrous. Right up until you get hooked by whiskey and you need to search for ways to articulate what you're experiencing. And inevitably, the only thing that you have is this library, this mental library of your own experiences, flavors and smells and textures that you've experienced in your life. And inevitably, you're going to have your face in a glass of whiskey one day, and you're going to stop tasting and smelling just generic whiskey. And you're going to start to define and refine things as you go along. Sweet and bitter and salty and savory and smoky and rich and bold and all of these things. And then as time goes on a bit further, they become more and more defined. So you do find yourself sitting there with the same friends that you were laughing about tasting notes just months or years before, getting into the nitty-gritty and talking about the confectionery notes or the woody notes or the chemically notes or all the crazy tasting notes start to spill out. And then you overhear yourself sometimes and you realize, you think, wow, I've become that person. I've become that person I used to look at and wonder about. But the thing is, you realize that it's fun, or most of the time it's fun. There is a danger that tasting notes can sometimes be a bit affected, a bit exaggerated, a bit of nonsense, a bit too much whimsy has been employed. And what we discovered when I did this blind challenge last year with the exact same panel that I'm inviting back tonight, by the way, is that the independent tasting notes were valuable. Even my tasting notes had a wee bit of value in there. I don't think that's going to happen tonight, but we discovered that. We found that the producer's tasting notes, which was the last set of notes that we looked at that night, were the least helpful. They were the most generic, the most woolly, the most silly even. And that's absurd, isn't it? That the producer's tasting notes should be the least helpful. And I think what the issue there is that they're just trying to come up with positive things to put on the packaging, positive things to put on their website or wherever it may be. And that makes sense. Of course it does. But if we get together as a community at your local club, at a tasting in the pub, in your house, when you're with whatever it is, and you start to talk about the flavors and things that you're enjoying in the whiskey, the more practice, the more you vocalize, the more you share, the more you actually get out of it, the more real the experience actually is. Aidan T, that looks like a brand new name. Aidan, he's just bought me a dram to say, great to be able to watch a live stream. Thanks, Roy. Learning more each week, enjoying a Port Charlotte 10 this evening. Aidan, thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you for buying me a dram and introducing yourself to everyone. Nice to have you in, Aidan. Nice to have you here. I appreciate that. Okay, as soon as I taste that, I know exactly what that is. It's so... I appreciate everybody that's watching on the replay. So many of you do. If you are watching on the replay, I'm making a real effort this year in 2021 to reply to every single comment. I'm a wee bit behind on last week's, but I'm going to go back in there and catch up. And if you are picking up on the replay, leave a comment and I will interact with you there. There's no ads. These vPubs are not monetized anymore. There will be no ads for you to sit through. I don't need to monetize the videos because of the Barfly support through the people who join the channel here and the support that I get through Patreon as well. Nice to have you, Aidan. Jeff Whiskey is saying, I love wild tasting notes when it brings back memories. I have had plastic containers after sweet and sour chicken and a glass of whiskey before. That's the thing, Jeff. You can get as wild as you like. You can get as extreme as you like. You can get as individualistic and as subjective as you like. If you smell it in the glass, say it, register it, remember it, think about it. What I would encourage somebody, don't feel like they always just have to say something for the sake of saying something. It's not like just, throwing shit at the ceiling and hoping that some of it sticks, because some of it inevitably is going to come back down and hit you in the head. You have to just be, it's okay to say I'm just getting whiskey, or I'm only getting sweet, or I'm only getting, just say what you're getting. And as the company that you're in can help you define it, you can talk backwards and forwards. Are you getting any of this? Are you getting any of that? And it's okay to sometimes not get anything. One of the most common questions or messages that I get is, how do I get all of these flavors in whiskey? How do I unlock all of these things? And I remember asking the exact same thing of my peers and colleagues and friends, and it just comes in time. Some people are much better at it than others, and that's okay. Laddie is in as well. I have one rule: avoid adjectives and stewed anything. I would say, you know, it's funny, Rombout, because for a while there was a big kind of push against the word smooth. And I always felt it was understandable why that, because, you know, smooth is just, I can understand why people are reluctant to go with that. But if you've only got smooth, if that's the only thing that you've got to describe a whiskey, you need to say it. I'm finding this one smoother than the last one. I'm finding this a smooth experience. To say that you can't use smooth and that's not a descriptor, we need to stop. We need to remove these barriers of entry that whiskey can sometimes have. And you know, if somebody wants to say smooth, it's just as valid as any other descriptor. But that's kind of from my point of view. And Bruno Mello is saying, Roy, I still find water cumbersome. If I had water or add water, I think he means I usually end up drowning the whiskey. But if I don't, it's usually quite muted or only getting alcohol. I mean, I remember thinking it was crazy to be using things like pipettes or water droppers. I've got lots of little glass and squishy water droppers. And they're fussy, especially if you're sitting on the couch or if you're away and you don't have a table. Using water is fussy. But there's a difference, Bruno, between just sitting back on the sofa and enjoying a whiskey and not really thinking about it, and actually analysing and having fun playing with whiskey or trying to decipher it and unlock it. And if you're willing to sit up with friends, if you're sitting around a table with a flight or whatever, I would involve water. If it's the only dram you've got at a tasting, be very, very careful, because it's not like you can pour a fresh one at a tasting. If you're at home, it's okay to sacrifice a few drams by adding water. If you drown it, it's fine. You drink it and you pour another one and you know that you added too much the time before. Playing with water is one of the most fascinating things you can do. It's fussy, but it's amazing what it can do, especially with higher ABV and cask strength whiskies. It's just great fun, but it is a wee bit fiddly sometimes. Dan Ford, I'm saying I still have to sit with a flavour wheel in front of me to get more than 2 or 3 tasting notes. I've got Charlie McLean's flavour wheel hanging on the wall. And if I hit a barrier, if I'm stuck, you just glance at it and you go round. And as you're kind of going round the sectors of any flavour wheel works, by the way, it's there as a prompt. It can help bring things out a wee bit. I'm going to ask my guests, I know that they're in the background right now studying away. I'm going to ask my guests to open their first envelope in the background and have a look at the first envelope. Is going to contain the producer's notes. And in that first envelope, you're going to be presented with 4 cards like this. I need to cover up this wee dot. You'll have 4 cards, and you'll be able to match up that card with your drams in front of you. So what you're trying to do is match the tasting note with the dram in front of you. And then as I bring you on one at a time, not only will we go through your own tasting notes, but we'll see how you've got on with the first matchup. I've also got in the lounge, yes, out there with the Whisky folk, we've got Richard Hall down south, we've got Che Francis in Scotland, and Nick over in Belgium. They all got identical packs to what the guests are sipping tonight. I did a wee giveaway inside Patreon so that I could share this out there, and people out there in the community could get a feel for what we're attempting tonight and have a bit of a fun sip along with it as well. So Richard Hall, Che Francis, and Nick, if you are playing along, please do your best to not kind of share too much or spoil anything in the chat. I'm also going to drop in here a link for anybody that wants to play along. There's nothing much to see right now, but it is a spoiler. So it's going to be hard, I know, but I want you to see what people are enjoying. I want you to play along visually. The people that are participating tonight will not be looking at this because there's nothing in it for them then. There's no fun in it. But if you do, I'll copy this link. If you do look at this, try and keep it to yourself. And throughout the night, what I'm going to be doing is dropping in slides here to take you through the process. I'll drop this in the chat right now so you can all click in and see it. Hopefully this works this time. Click on that and you will be able to see not only the whiskies that we're enjoying tonight, but which colour they are. So you're unlocking everything right now. I can see people pouring in already. So you will see that there are aliases for these whiskies. So you don't need to call them by their name. You can call them by the alias, which is at the bottom of the page. So if you want to talk to your fellow barflies about what they're sipping tonight and not give anything away, use the aliases. And it doesn't even matter if anybody has a sideways glance. It doesn't really necessarily give anything away. And I will start to add things to this throughout the night. For example, what I'll do right now is I will copy the first set of tasting notes in for everyone so that they can see. There we go, what's just about to be read out. And I'll also pop in the tasting notes from Julie, because they've sent them along in advance. I should have did this before I went live, actually. Hopefully you're all seeing this okay. And Ian. And finally, my friend, Stefan. Some of them don't want to. It's working now. Julie, Ian, Stefan, good. Okay, so you can see their tasting notes and you can also see the first. I'm going to start bringing in my guests now so we can get things on the go. Let's see what you are saying. Hopefully you're all getting I can see that there's, oh wow, 64 plus of you in already having a wee look at that. Fantastic. Well, I can't sip along with you, says Jimmy. Never been near any of those whiskies. That's okay. That's okay, Jimmy. I understand that that's what it is. The way I've selected these whiskies tonight is I had to select 4 whiskies that were similar enough, you know, to not make it obvious, but also clear differentiation between each of them, but something that vaguely linked each whiskey. That's kind of what I was going for. That's why I picked those whiskies. I also needed to have whiskies that had producer's notes available, independent notes available as well. There's no point in trying this if I don't have those sets of notes available. Anyway, let's welcome my first guest tonight. You've met her before. She's always a pleasure to have on. She's one of my favourite people to hang around with generally as well. I'm going to welcome in Julie from Glasgow's Whisky Club from Elixir Spirits. And just Julie, Whiskey Julie, I don't know, how else do we refer to you? You seem to be doing so many things these days. You've turned a passion into a job and everything, haven't you?
That's it, absolutely, yeah.
And you're still loving it, aren't you?
Still loving it, It's a very different world at the moment because everything's virtual and we're all online, but not getting to meet many people, but yeah, still loving it, absolutely. Yeah.
And because of your role at Elixir, obviously, Julie, you're staying up till stupid o'clock most of the time to do tastings all over the planet as well. So they're abusing this technological format this last wee while, no doubt, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's the early morning. So this week has been early mornings, and there was supposed to be an exceptionally late night, but I managed to get away with that. I shook that off for tonight.
So you're off hire and you're hanging out with just us tonight, which is magic. Okay, good. You're here for the duration then.
I am indeed.
So I've given you plenty of whiskey this time. I was a bit stingy with the whiskey pours last time. I think I've given you a wee bit more. So you've got plenty to get your head round. Did you just come to it tonight, or have you been working away in the background the last couple of nights?
No, it was just today. I had I was actually doing work notes as well. So I had to save it till today. So, yeah. There
are advantages from working from home, right? Being able to sip a dram through the day. Aye.
Certainly, It's when the DPD man comes to the door, and I've been drinking whiskey at 11:30 in the morning. That's
right. And that DPD man is the same DPD man that knows that every single package he's bringing to the door is bottle shaped.
Full of bottles.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
We're good pals now, though. It's all fine.
That's right. So we were talking a wee bit before we went live there. Tasting notes. We all say, oh, they're subjective. It's down to your personal kind of frame of reference and things like that. But is that true, Julie? Or do you think there's objective things we can nail down about tasting notes as well?
I think there's I think there's certain things. I mean, we were talking before we came on, and we were, there are certain things where peaty whiskey is peaty whiskey. It doesn't matter whether you're getting other things round about that. But
Yeah.
Sherried whiskey will have characteristics that you'll maybe describe in a different way. But I think that in general, there's a lot of it's very subjective, and I think people can be quite suggestible as well. I know I am. The minute, like, if I'm
Yes.
tasting notes, if I'm working through on a panel, the minute that someone tells me what they smell or taste, that's all I can smell and taste. So yeah, it's I have to try and do that by myself.
But I think that's when it's fascinating and fun to be sipping in company that are a bit more experienced than you are, or a bit more confident about vocalizing. Maybe I think one of the biggest pleasures about getting together at the Glasgow Whisky Club is that very thing.
Yeah.
The folk that have been sipping, and you in your environment, you must get to hang out with people that know their way around a glass of whiskey, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you feel you've learned a lot in the last wee while?
Yeah, I think I have. I'm writing more notes now. So I used to write a lot of notes a good few years ago with the society, with SMWS. I was on the panel for that, and then I didn't do it for such a long time. And then I started to do it again for work, but the majority of the time I'm doing tasting notes for Asia, for our Asian market. So I have to translate it into things that aren't Scottish sweeties or Scottish cakes or things that were in my granny's house, so you've got to try and kind of widen your vocabulary enough. So I think when you do that and you're doing that regularly, then you start to kind of build up a way of doing it. So yeah, I suppose.
So you think writing it down helps then?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, look at what I've been doing recently, and this is not me. This is not me. But look at this wee book of tasting notes, right? And what do you think inspired me to do this? Do you recognise this book, Julie?
I do indeed. Yes.
This is from you. This is from when you did a Glasgow. You hosted a Glasgow event and gave out these wee cool tasting books. Yeah. So just having a wee portable book there, having something on hand that I may carry in a pocket, you never know. Having it there, maybe bringing it along to the club nights as well, because I do find that you only need to do it once. You don't need to do it for every glass of whiskey you ever drink, right?
That's right.
But you come to a new whiskey.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get your head around it, and it's really focusing you. Yeah. And as you write it down, you do become a bit more relaxed, I think, and you become good at kind of building up that library, that frame of reference, even if it's a sweetie shop full of Scottish sweeties.
This is these are all my words for lemon. So, like writing down when you come across something new, I try and write things down so that I remember, so you'll get things and it's on the tip of your tongue and you just can't get to it, but and you can jog your memory, because if you go around smelling things, like everyday things, we used to laugh about it and say you would be nosing diluting juice and cups of tea and things like that, but you do get like that. So it's So
I'll go on further than that. I will say that not only am I much more aware and seeking out flavors and smells because of what whiskey has done, I'm enjoying those sensory experiences in the world generally much more. Yeah. Walking down the street and you smell something that you would have maybe otherwise ignored. Yeah. You're like, oh, I can think about that the next time I'm. And I think it does. This whiskey experience is elevating.
You notice things. I think there's a downside to it as well, though, because your sense of smell becomes really heightened. So, if I'm out, my mum, for example, doesn't have a really sharp sense of smell anymore. And she'll shake her head and she'll say, "Oh my God, your nose!" Because I'm like, "Oh, I can smell things." And if it's a horrible smell as well, it's not just good smells. But I think
that's right. That's right. And sometimes. And that's what producers will never put on the bottle, right? All the horrible stuff. But it's fine for us if we need to articulate what it is. We go anywhere we want to go. There's nothing off limits, right? And sometimes it's a bad thing but you're enjoying it in the glass in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd. I know that it's absurd, but anybody that's new and coming into whiskey and thinking this is all a nonsense, please trust it. Go with it for a wee while and come back to me in a couple of years. Anyway, Julie, you've got 4 drams in front of you. I've ranked. You've already ranked and committed to, just as a throwaway, your favourite is the red one tonight. Your second favourite was the blue. Your third favourite was the green, and the least favourite was the yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got that locked in. Do you want to take us through? I'll just, before I go on to Ian and Stefan, take us through what you got. What was Julie's notes? And let's pick your favourite one, which was the red one.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up as you tell me. As you talk to me, I'll pick this one up.
I started to read my notes and I confused myself there for a second. Sorry, tell me what you want me to do. My notes.
Your favourite one is the red?
My favourite one is the red, yeah.
Yes, you've given it a score, actually. You've given it a good score of 9 out of 10 on this red one.
I did. So then this is the scores out of these 4 whiskies.
Of course.
In general, how I would score it necessarily.
Understand.
So yeah, for me, this is just so I've got a really sweet tooth, and it comes through in my tasting notes all the time. I was doing a training session for a group of staff with their Taiwanese distributors, and they hadn't eaten anything before they came on, and all my tasting notes were all about bakery and pastries and things, and they were all starving by the time they finished. So very suggestively made them hungry as well. So
this is very sweet for you. I can see you're writing the honey sultanas, baked orange, over-baked chocolate chip cookies, muscovado sugar, and espresso dregs. Wow.
Yeah. You know, if you get just the end of an espresso and it's had sugar in it, the sugar never all melts.
Right. Okay, so it's still in a sweet theme. It's not kind of
yeah.
It's not like coffees or mochas or things. It's still
it's the muscovado sugar at the bottom of an espresso cup. So you're getting a wee bit of the coffee there as well. I get that with
muscovado sugar in espresso dregs. Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
The chocolate covered booze soaked sultanas, I couldn't get my head to what the booze was, and it was taking me to rum, but that was what the association of that would be.
Yes.
What I was tasting. But yeah, chestnut puree and honey cream, you know, like hotel chocolat chocolates where you get really interesting, decadent fillings.
So I think this is starting to suggest cask influence to you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lots of you're going into some honey as well, some cream and macerated fruit.
Yeah.
And then on the finish, you go on to talk about light spice, fruit. And
you're getting kind of light baking spices on the end.
Yeah. So I would suggest that most of your notes would lean towards maybe some sherry cask influence here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I know that a lot of these things can come out of an American oak or a bourbon cask.
Yeah.
But that's where you're going. Lots of rich, lots of sweet, lots of dessert. And you've written, I love this a lot.
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
And your number 2, just before we let you go back and concentrate on the next lot, your number 2 was the blue one as well. Let's pick up this blue one. Take me through this one.
So this is the thing I was nervous about, because I did my tasting notes at 11:30 this morning, because I think that's one of the best times, just at the late morning to do. I think you're
absolutely, yeah.
Tasting notes. And I worried that after I'd had my tea tonight, I would smell and taste it different, but I'm not. So, and like I said, an iced custard slice, you know, like, so the pastry with creme patisserie and icing, but I was getting a bit of sea air in it as well in the nose.
So a wee bit briny, a wee bit saltier.
Just a wee bit. So again, I've got this visual of Millport front, but just sitting in one of those really brightly painted benches in Millport.
Excellent.
Yeah, cubes and shortbread cooling in the tin.
But what you're talking about when you talk about this if you're with somebody that suggests something and you pick that up, I'm reading your notes, and when you talked about that cream custard and the custard slice and things, And I guarantee you, I've got my notes for this, and I bet you there's no talk of custard, but it's clearly there, and it's amazing. That's what helps a bit. Let's see if I got anything along those lines. We'll wait and see. I don't want to spoil anything. We'll leave it there.
No.
So all I need you to do then, Julie, is you tell me now. I've got a wee scorecard here. It doesn't spoil any. Have you matched up your first envelope so far?
I have.
You've had time to do that. I was worried that I wouldn't have given you time there.
No, I have.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the wee score thing that I have. If I've got a non-spoiler one, actually, that would be a better way to do it, because then I can do a wee screen share as we fill it out. Do you think that would work? Let's try that. And I'm going to just get you to match these up for us.
Okay.
Let's get the share screen. See if we can get this to work. There we go. Try that. Okay, and then I'll try and drive it from over here.
Okay.
Here we go. So under the producer's notes section, I'm just going to ask you to give me a number for each of the tasting notes. The top of the card that you've got has a number on it to help us keep track here. So in the green dram, what number have you associated with that?
Number 1.
Number 1. And the yellow dram?
Yellow, number 4.
Number 4. And the red dram?
Number 2.
Number 2. And finally, that means number 3.
Number 3, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Julie.
I'm a way off.
You've got 2 right.
Oh, good.
You've got 2 right. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is that I'll tell you because it's not going to change anything. There's no link between the first set of the producer's tasting notes and then the independent notes and my notes. So I can just tell you just now that you got the yellow one right. So I'm going to change that to green.
Okay.
And you got the blue one right.
Okay. Wow. My goodness. Okay.
So there you go. There you go. It's a decent start, isn't it? That's you off to a 50-50 so far.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll let you go back, and you can immediately go on to your next one, open your next envelope, and start the match-up process there, and I'll bring you back in a wee bit.
All right. I'll see you in a wee while.
Enjoy, Julie. Thanks very much.
Yes.
Thanks. There she goes. She's happy with that, getting a 50-50 to start with. Good. Fantastic. Luna is saying, would you ask Julie whether she usually develops tasting notes over the course of several days? That's a good one to ask. As she mentioned there, later in the morning, she's finding that's, and I know that so many people, you remember when Charlie McLean was on, he talked about the exact same thing. Late in the morning, your palate, it seems to be at its most receptive. I still don't have a lifestyle that affords such a thing. And I have to say that even a sip of whiskey during the day seems odd to me unless I'm away at a festival or on a whiskey trip or something. I don't like the sense of whiskey. I'm just not used to it on my palate early in the day or the middle of the day. But when I said that to Charlie McLean, he said, "Oh, my dear boy, you'll get used to it." So maybe it's just something that you do if you're going to be analysing whiskey. Peter Wilcox is saying, "Hey, Roy, will Julie be at the Bristol Whisky Festival when it's back? Cheers." I think you would have a hard time keeping Julie away. She's given 2 thumbs up from the background. She absolutely will. Sheila is insane. Marcus Kreitner, you gem. You start Aquavita is rubbing off on me. So obviously Marcus Kreitner has been saying some nice things about Sheila over on the Whisky Central channel. If anybody's not tuned into Sheila on Whisky Central, they should. Wonderful stuff, super enthusiastic and passionate content coming out. Nick is saying my initial rank, he's saying 1 is blue, 2 red, 3 green, blue, 2 red, green and yellow. I can tell you that your rank with Nick Whiskey 101 is the exact same and it matches Stefan exactly. Good for you to do it like that and not give anything away, buddy. Nick, I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're enjoying it. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, me too, Roy, and actually saying the missus will give me a swift kick in the behind if I try that. I know, it's just that drinking in the day, right? I'm back in quarantine, says Scotty S, before heading to work. Can drink whiskey all day. That's the danger. And when we are stuck at home, it is dangerous. But I suppose some people, it's their job. Some people, they have to be able to do it and they have to find ways of managing that. Jimmy Legg is saying, if anyone asks me what I really think of a whiskey, I wouldn't say unless I've been through the entire bottle. I think sometimes it's nice. That's probably the right way to do it, to kind of decide if you're going to reinvest in a whiskey, your holistic, your view of it all. But sometimes you're trying whiskies by the dram at a tasting, at a festival, whatever the event may be, and you're trying to make up your mind on a purchase or a recommendation based on just a dram. But Jimmy, absolutely, you're right. We all suffer from the same things. But usually we can get a handle. We can tell if a whiskey's in our ballpark or not just by a wee dram. Matthias is in. Good, or Matthias. Sorry, Matthias. Good to see you, my friend. Hale and Roy, nice to welcome you in. And Andrew Prestige Liquids is saying, which whiskey had the most outrageous notes on the bottle that you have seen? There are some quite outrageous ones, but I think most of the most outrageous ones, they always get stolen. It's always SMWS releases, I would say, in my experience. They tend to be the most off the wall. They just let whimsy go with it sometimes. David Owen is saying, how can Glen Scotia write smooth on the package of the 15? It's anything but smooth. I think producers, I think that's one of the biggest backlashes to that adjective smooth, is because of how heavily abused it is by producers. And also that idea that kind of persists, smooth whiskey. Do we really want smooth whiskey? If we want something smooth, there's a billion other drinks that we could drink. Maybe we could stick to blends. Maybe we could enjoy some smooth blends. I think when we're enjoying malts for enthusiasts, I think that's the kind of aversion we have to that word smooth. But people shouldn't be told that it can't be used. Notes are a weird thing, says Vinit Nonas Whiskey. Good to have you in, buddy. On one hand, it's subjective, so who am I to say a note of something else is bullshit? That said, sometimes they can be a touch flowery for my liking. Vin does have an aversion to that, and sometimes an aversion to overly sulfured or sickly savoury drams, in my experience, Vin. Would you say that's right? Anyway, my other guest, Ian, is waiting in the background. I'm going to bring him in, see what he thought about the other two drams that we're talking about tonight, and get his input on how he is so far. Ian, my friend, good to have you back. Good to have you back behind the bar at the vPub. Thanks very much for stepping up again, buddy. I think what I'm going to ask you right away is, we were messaging in the build up to this, and you sent me a message last night to say, Roy, is it okay if I leave things till tomorrow because I'm sitting here and all I'm tasting is whiskey? So what we're talking about there is moment, mood, and environment, right? Just the fact that it just wasn't happening for us. Tell us about it. What was the story last night, Ian?
I was very excited. I rinsed my glasses, washed everything, getting ready to go, poured them all out, came downstairs, just me in the house, kids, everyone in bed. And it was whiskey. It was all very nice whiskey. But I wasn't able to go down that route of, oh, here's this, here's that. Oh, what. And I remember actually I messaged you and said, I've worked really hard. And I got some nose notes for for the green one, a little bit of notes, and I think a little bit of palate for so it was palate for green and nose for green, a little bit on that, and that was it. And I was absolutely panicking. I was like, I've lost my sense of smell. I've lost everything. And so I was like, can I try again tomorrow? That was my general thought.
But you weren't really genuinely panicking that you'd lost it completely. You weren't thinking it's a COVID thing or anything. But no. Does this happen to you? Because it happens to me. Yeah, it definitely happens to me.
I did years ago. I did John Lammon's whiskey course, and the advanced one you have to present notes on it. And the first couple of ones, I was feeling really chuffed. I got cherry blossoms and satsumas and whatever else you were looking for. And then 2 weeks in the trot, most of the drams, I was going, it smells like whiskey.
Just whiskey.
There's some. It might be a stronger whiskey. That's a peaty whiskey, but I wasn't getting any of the fun stuff. I wasn't getting one of the weirdest tasting notes I've ever heard at Glasgow Whisky Club was the underside of a Glasgow City bus seat. I've never smelled the underside of a Glasgow City bus seat, and I really, really never want to.
Right.
But I wasn't getting even the fun things. It was just literally whiskey. And it was really, really off-putting. And for someone who buys lots of different whiskies, to try lots of different smells, to do all that stuff, it kind of freaks you out a little bit.
So what if you're in that situation and you're not getting anything, or you're struggling or whatever? I think the advice that, as I was saying earlier, is don't force it. It's okay to admit, like you did last night, it's just not happening. I'm not having a good time. Whether it's something playing on you, a health thing, whether it's your palate, what you've been eating for dinner, whether it's just mood. Sometimes it's just plain mood, isn't it?
I think 100% on the mood. We talked about this again just before we came on last Saturday at Glasgow Whisky Club. There was one of the drams you liked. You described teasing out these beautiful, delicate, balanced notes, this subtlety that was coming from the dram, a balance, a poise.
It was a 28-year-old Longmorn. It was
absolutely stunning dram. Absolutely stunning dram. 20. The thing you should go, 20. I was more interested in the cask strength Highland Park. We said before. No age statement, 63.5%, I think. But I was in the mood for a punchy, heavy, hitting, aggressive type. And that was it. So that's that part. That's why we have collections of whiskey. If we only liked whiskey drams, we would just buy whiskey and there would just be loads of whiskey. But there are days when you go, I want something peaty, I want something aggressive, I want something a bit more balanced. And it's finding the right dram for you, because I don't know about yourself, but I occasionally find myself going, no, and I'm kneeling in front of the cupboard pulling all the whiskies out, and Kirsten's looking at me going, what are you doing? You're spoiled. I'm getting the right one for this film, or this is the right dram for the end of one division. This is, whatever your balancing act is, there is a time and a place for it, and that's why there is more than one distillery going about.
I mean, I think that sometimes if you're going to take that elegant dram, that one like the Longmorn we had at the club, and you, because it's precious, because it's mature, because you should be getting lots out of it, there is pressure on you to taste more in the dram, and you don't want to just sit back on the couch and mindlessly watch some TV while you're drinking something like that. But other times you maybe don't want something that's completely going to take your attention every single sip, which, by the way, you and I were both impressed by that Highland Park cask strength at the club the other night, weren't we? And we talked about the fact that we're not always impressed by what's coming out of Highland Park. For an enthusiast's perspective, of course, but that cask strength Highland Park did well in that lineup the other night. And I get exactly what you're talking about. You just want something that gets your mood. Sometimes you just can't be doing with delicate and ease and light. You need something bold, something that's really going to help you transition into the weekend or whatever it is you were looking for the other night.
It's funny how you say the weekend. On Fridays, although I tend to work weekends, I still have a Friday. It's Friday. I want bourbon on a Friday, like a bourbon. If I can't get a bourbon, I'll have a bourbon whiskey. But I want that sweet rush. I want that rich kind of sweet mouthfeel. It's Friday, so it's bourbon and beer day.
Yep.
If I was going to have a dram middle of the week because it's been long already, then maybe I'm looking for that Longmorn. I'm looking for something that's got a bit more depth, and you're going to take that time to peel away the layers and take that time over it. So yeah, Friday it's bourbon day for me, predominantly.
That's interesting.
Friday bourbon day.
It's interesting. And then it becomes something to look forward to, like a ritual thing. And that moment where your brain is also engaged in the fact that you're transitioning. It's the Friday night thing, the Friday night flavors. I hope I'm getting a message up to say I need to publish this to the web to make it available. Hopefully everybody's seeing this. But I can see that you and Stefan have ranked your drams the exact same, Ian, which is interesting. If I'm right, blue, red, green, yellow, yes.
Blue, red,
The thing that's
green.
consistent here, all three of you agree that green and yellow are last. And I know that agrees with...
Oh, no. I think I'm green number 1, yellow 2, red 3, blue 4.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong? I may be looking at the wrong slide. Let me pull it up.
I'm sure.
I am, buddy. That's why you were the same as Stefan, because it wasn't yours, it was Stefan's. That's even better. There is something different. So let's go through. Number 1, you're green.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, right? So that is completely different. Number 2, yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is good. I thought that we had a cut and shut consensus here. That wasn't what I was looking for. I needed the variation to be in there. Red, number 3, and blue, number 4. So that's really quite different. That's really quite different to the other two, and it's different from Nick and the crowd. I don't know how Rich and Che are getting on with their sets, but there you go. Tell me what notes you got then. What made you like, let's say, the green and yellow? Share what you thought about the green and yellow. What notes have you got here?
I'm sticking with that, although I got less of it this time. And it's possibly all because I'm trying to eat less sweets and eat less ice cream. So what I'm craving is coconut, macaroons, milk chocolate, sugar syrup, something caramelized, the actual fruit from tin mandarins, something a little bit citrusy that stops it being too kind of
sickly sweet.
Yeah, 100%. And then on the palate, it's honey nut cornflakes, except weirdly without the nut part. Chewy, nutty bits in Toblerone. That's why it's weird, why I don't like the nuts in the... And then the finish I thought was quite short, but it was very, very moreish, so I wanted more of it. That was what I really liked about it. And for the second one, I've written virgin oak. I think there's a bit of that in there.
This is the yellow?
I think there's some lemon oil or pith or something. There was a weird kind of bar, kind of like a tracker bar, a OT bar that my mum used to send me to school with that had dried apricots in it. I think she thought it was healthy. And that was the overwhelming thing on the nose, with some like slightly burnt caramel. But the palate, I thought, was all just so strange when I've written it out. I've written iron brew.
So fudgy and figs to me. It actually reminds me of fig rolls, this dram.
Yeah, well, I'd go that kind of redness, that sweet kind of mouth coating-y type feel that you get from fig rolls and all that kind of stuff. The reason I wrote iron brew, not iron brew, that thing, is that it didn't taste like official iron brew. It was somebody trying to get close to it. And then I was lucky enough to go to Sweden a lot when I was a kid, because my mum's Swedish, and I was going to see my grandparents. And that kind of, you get them in IKEA, those Swedish fish kind of things, but that kind of red licorice chewy lace thing was there, and the finish is pure Calpol for me. And I don't know if that's a kind of making me feel better when I'm ill, happiness feeling, or...
See, I love it. It's just the same as the suggestibility that Julie was talking about with the vanillas and the custard and things. I know what Calpol's a very unique flavour, isn't it? Calpol is a kid's medicine, obviously here in the UK. It's paracetamol for kids. And it has a very, very unique flavour. It's almost to make it palatable to kids, but not so palatable that they want it as a treat, right? So it's kind of that odd kind of saccharine, vaguely fake fruit type flavour. I'm not even sure what it is. I'm trying to catch Shay, because he's gone with a completely different order as well. He's gone red, green. I'll try and catch yours as well, Richard. And then I'll have everybody. He's gone red, green, blue, then yellow. Wow. So what you've matched up your producer's notes now.
Yeah.
You've done your best to try and match them up.
Yep.
Obviously you've committed, and you can tell me just now what they are, and I'll stick it in on the scorecard.
Of course. I think I'm the exact opposite of Julie. Green is number 4. Yellow is number 1.
Well, let me do this same screen share again then, so I can pull that up. There we go.
Oh.
So again, green is, so you've gone the same?
I've gone green 4.
Oh, green is 4. Okay.
Yeah. Yellow is number 1.
Yep.
Red is number 3. Which
2
makes
for
blue number 2. So I'm 50% as well.
Well,
unless
that's the thing. It's going to be interesting, and I know that you're locking these in. I can tell you that 2. No, you're on a donut.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. You've got none of those now. Obviously, I'm worried that I'm distracting you to try and fathom these out, but it doesn't matter because when this round is done, there's nothing that helps you with the rounds going forward. It's completely isolated. So what that tells me is that so far the producer's notes over you and Julie have been able to only help 25% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So producer's notes haven't been helpful for you in this one. Ian, I'm going to let you go in the background and open the next set of, which is independent reviewers notes, and I'll get you back on in a wee bit, buddy.
Cool.
Fantastic, fantastic. So there you go. Producer's notes were semi-helpful to Julie. She was able to get half of them, but Ian found no connection between what he was getting in the dram and what was suggested from the bottle. Let's jump into the chat quickly, see how you guys are getting on. I've got Che's notes there as well. I'm going to try and catch Richard's. Pete Morris is saying, you're in the wrong column, Roy. Thank you very, very much. Independent notes. You're absolutely right. I'm so lucky to have folk like you, Peter, keeping me right. 1, 3, 2. There we go. Would think that somebody else set this up and I was filling it out, but it's actually my own form. But still the same thing stands, and you can see there that Ian, or you will see when I pull it up again on a screen share, I've fixed it. Peter, thank you very much for the heads up. You'll see that the same result stands. And Tom Lawrence is saying you have filled in the wrong fields. Thanks, Tom. Gary Carew, wrong row, wrong column. Shouldn't figures be below Julie's? Yes. Wow. Roy, you're writing in the wrong column. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Neil Corrin saying Ian's numbers in the wrong section. We've got it right now. We've got it fixed. It's all repaired. Don't worry about it. I'm going to reach out to Stefan now and see how he's getting on. You remember Stefan? He's been on a couple of times before. He's been on this session, the tasting panel before, but he's also been on when we did a wee tour of Speyside. Stefan was the guy who brought Ben Romack to us. Stefan, so nice to see you and welcome you back behind the bar at the vPub, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm fine, and I hope my internet is fine. I've been leaving you twice.
Yes, I did hear the beeps as you were leaving and coming back in. Stefan, don't worry. As long as you're here, we'll work with the tech. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
we'll keep
great.
the connection alive enough just for you to share the critical information. You and I were talking before we went live about tasting notes as a form of fun. Is it enjoyable? Do you actually get fun out of assessing whiskies, sharing tasting notes? Do you see it as a fun thing?
Yeah, I think you go through phases. So I thought it was very difficult at the start, and then it was very useful and thing to do for some time. And I've actually brought this. I found this. I just earlier looked for that. This is where I started. I started writing notes in this little book, and the earliest one is from 2010. And then as time went on, I did it less and less, and it became shorter and shorter. Not because I was less interested in the whiskey, but I think it wasn't anymore peat or citrusy peat, or it was walnuts or something. Somehow I immediately connected it to whiskey that I know. I was like, oh, this is a Beaumont peat, or this is a Lafroig peat, or this is some.
So you're trying to anchor the note to the whiskey all the time, right?
Which is, but also be completely wrong. Then I get it completely wrong, and we'll see later on that I get it wrong. But I think it's it comes with having the experience. For me, it's much easier to actually to say, oh, number 1 tastes like a whatever, and number 4 tastes like this, than to come up with these words. And I wonder whether I'm just not that gifted with putting my tasting notes into writing, because what I just heard from it just says citrusy or walnut, so maybe not as flamboyant.
Your connection did let you down right at the end, just as you got interesting there. So what you're talking about there is you're going through phases of interest. If you're not particularly enthusiastic about it, you're not going to get much out of doing the tasting notes thing. But back at the start, when you were really trying to dial into the whiskies, when you were trying to define and practice, I suppose, at interrogating whiskies and trying to get more and more out of whiskies, you were getting a lot of enjoyment out of that. And then you just started to relax with the whiskey a wee bit more.
I thought it was something that Julie mentioned, this suggestive element is also, I think, I enjoyed this to some extent when someone said something and you thought, oh, yes. And it's, of course, then it sticks to your head and it's difficult to get rid of. And you only then smell or taste these three things that someone mentioned sitting next to you.
Absolutely.
But I found this, oh, great, yes. And particularly when you're starting out, you think, oh, I'm not a complete fool. I'm not completely lost. Oh, yes, he said the tasted hazelnuts. That's true. I get them now. So I found them really nice props to work with.
Absolutely. And I think that it depends on the company. I know that you keep very good company. I know that you are often sitting with really, really quite interesting people. And that can be, I suppose, everybody, it doesn't matter how much you've been into whiskey, it's always to do with the mood and the environment. If you're just relaxing with these people and having a chat socially, you're not going to be taking notes and dialing in and talking about. But if you're sitting at a tasting, or if you're at the club, or if you're doing something like that, it's almost like the environment and the moment invites you to interrogate and to analyze a wee bit. Do you think?
It's certainly the exchange with others. Yes, sitting alone at home and just writing down something is maybe less interesting. It's more in this pub situation, in the club, table of 6, table of 4, or even as you do in the whiskey club, breakout rooms, smaller groups. Then when you, and then again, though, you have these self-fulfilling prophecies or these suggestive elements that it turns out later on we all get back together. Then for whatever number 4 tasted for one group of certain things because they all agreed because someone who has the biggest clout and maybe the most respect in the group because he knows these things. Then everybody, yeah, sure. And another group sees it completely differently. And that's the thing I find this fascinating, how sitting at different tables means you taste whiskey differently.
And you can feel that happens. We know that it happens in real life and in the virtual meetings and the separate breakout rooms.
One of the few things that you seem to be able to replicate.
It's quite incredible that it happens. It's all part of the fun. And that's kind of what I was asking, is that this has got to be something that's enjoyable. And if you're not in the mood, if you're not enjoying it, it's okay to not be the one who's putting the notes forward and just to sit back and enjoy the whiskey or listen. It's always fully optional. Now, interestingly, you and Julie were kind of similar on the lineup. The only thing that's different between the two of you were the blue and red at the start. You preferred the blue, she preferred the red, but they were your number 1 and your number 2. What drew you to the blue as your favorite?
I tried them 2 days ago for the first time a little bit. Then this morning or lunchtime I tried a little bit, and now again. And this confirms, I think the blue one is the most. It tastes different all the time. They all taste different whenever I take them slightly. But I think the blue one is the one that is the most.
You don't mean different from each other. You mean different at different times.
Yes. I think now I was really like checking in. Is this a blue one? Yeah, it is. Yeah, interesting. And I think it has something that Julie mentioned, which was this coastal thing or this dirtiness or this. I think I described it as gas leak. So there's a funky, stinky element there, something that I find quite fascinating. So intriguing and I could think of whiskies that tend to have this, and I think this one makes this one stand out a bit from the others.
Well, let's pull up your notes. You've said on the nose that this one is citrusy and herbal. You've ranked it first. This is interesting. I'll get to you. On the nose, you're getting a gas leak.
Yes.
The stinky thing. Then citrus. You're getting an aromatic Black Forest Gateau.
Yeah, that's a cherry thing.
Lemon on the finish. Interesting one. And cherries. So
the
this gas leak. So you're actively saying you're getting a challenging note here, but you've ranked it as your favourite in the lineup of 4. And that's something that you and I have talked about in the past. It's not always about wonderful whiskies or amazing whiskies. Sometimes it's good just to have an interesting whiskey.
Yeah.
Something
think-
that just piques
yeah.
your curiosity.
And I think good comparison would be the green one, first one in the lineup, and
Yeah.
which I think is a very good whiskey, and but it's a bit, I think I have tasted something like this many times, and it's perfectly fine. It's great, but it's nothing that keeps me interested in it.
Yeah.
But that is probably also a personal thing.
Yeah. Maybe
for me,
a little bit samey.
Yeah. Yes. That's also maybe one. If you then had to guess, what do you think they are? This is the one where I wouldn't know where to start. Could be anything.
Yeah.
Well, something what I found interesting that stood out for me, and I think Julie was the same, and Ian mentioned it, is the yellow one, second one in the lineup.
Yeah.
And Ian mentioned the word virgin. So there's this oak sawdust furniture element, which has lots of wood element, fresh wood, which I'm not particularly fond of, and others might be, and
So
it might not be
with
virgin.
that, if everyone's getting that super sweet virgin oak element, what are we talking about there? Maybe a youthful whiskey or a whiskey that's been finished, or
there's lots of virgin oak finishes around. I also think it's quite young, or it could be one that actually openly says it on the label. This is a virgin oak, and there are a few. There's Deanston one and a few others. So could be.
Yeah.
I remember we had also in the club, we had old whiskies, 20-something-year-olds, and one of them I remember I think it was a Deluan or something, and it was finished in virgin oak. It was really old, finished virgin oak, and it tasted of virgin oak. And I thought this was such a shame, but there was probably good reason, because whatever happened after the 21 years before wasn't
working.
worth it. But I thought, then you put in virgin oak and it tastes of virgin oak.
Yeah.
But people like it. I just not my style of whiskey.
I get it completely. I really do. That's fascinating, and interestingly, that's the yellow you've put at the back at the end. Ian's picked it his second favourite. Julie's the same as you. She put it at the back of the lineup as well. But
I'm not surprised by Ian, because and he likes this style of whiskey, so it's perfectly fine. Yeah. So I'm surprised. It's okay. That's not.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see where I have ranked these as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm in agreement with. Mine is different from everybody, I think. But anyway, let's go forward with it. I'll let you go back. I'll let you open up the independent reviewers notes, and then I'll bring you back on to see how you match those. Oh no, I have to match yours up. Right? I don't have yours yet, do I? So let's pull that up. See, I'm really glad there's other folk here to keep me right. Let's add this. Put it in the right place this time. So you think the green one is matching up with which note?
With 3.
Wow, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. This one is 4.
4, yep.
This one is 2.
Yep.
And then this one is 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So what I can say is that you're obviously the same as Julie there. You've got that one right.
Yeah, but that's it, probably.
Yeah, I'm going to change the green so that you can see it a bit better. But we can see that's terrible, actually. We can't really see that at all. That's better with the first green. You can see that there's really not... there's not a lot of help happening here. The producer's notes are not helpful. So what are we? We're for 12. We've got 3 out of. Yeah, we're at 25% success rate, aren't we? But I mean, Ian didn't get any help from it at all. You managed to match up 1. So we're back in that kind of generic woolly zone that producers' notes are that we discovered the last time. They tend to be quite woolly, quite generic. Let's have a read at the producer's notes. One of them was smooth, sherry-rich, single malt, layered with baked fruit, maple, honey, and cocoa. Sorry?
So, nothing.
Perfectly balanced with lingering sultana, spiced mocha finish, maple, honey, cocoa, forest fruits. So many of these things we can pick out, but so many of these things are very, very generic. I mean, some of them, there's one here for one of these drams that says, a busy sommelier's apron and rose hips. I don't know what a busy sommelier's apron is supposed to smell like, but I get the suggestion. The palate was McCowan's Highland Toffees. That's quite a parochial reference there. That's a very Scottish specific kind of toffee. And the finish is a dessert wine washed down with a crispy creme brulee. So they're quite whimsical. Producer's notes are probably meant to suggest very kind of rough ballparks. But there we go. So you score 1. Ian scored 0 for the first. And the scoring is really not for the individual. The scoring is the producer's notes here. The producer's notes with Stefan scores 1. With Ian, the producer's notes scored nothing. And with Julie, they scored 50%. Stefan, go and have a go on the next round, and I'll bring you back in a wee second, my friend. Thank you. So there we go. Not a lot of help from the producer's notes, maybe. They've got some independent reviewer notes. I'll read out a couple of those to you, but you can obviously see it in the link that I've shared in the chat. Falsgraf is saying, as I said hours ago, theatrics are involved in ad blurbs. No doubt, Falsgraf, that's absolutely true. They are, and they're not going to say kind of more of the challenging, feinty off notes. You're not going to see that often on producers' notes. Richard Hall is saying, Simon and I have completely changed their minds based on the indie notes. But that's the thing. Once you've decided the matchup on the first round, you go into the indie notes, you're trying to match up fresh again. And then once you go into my notes at the end, I'm either going to completely derail things for you, or I'm going to try it. I've tried my best to help you, but I don't think I will. Because I'm the last person to help you before you do the semi-blind matchup, I might be the one who derails things for you. So it's kind of going to end up on my shoulders at the end. And actually, it's interesting that none of the producers' notes mention any spice. Absolutely, because some of these are spicy. On my notes, there's spice mentioned. It depends on what the sommelier has spilled down it recently, says Peter Morris. Absolutely. Tom Lawrence is explained, please share the links again. Thanks. I will do. I'll jump in here to the spoiler links. Remember, only go in here if you're quite happy to know that you're not going to share anything. And I'll drop it in. And I'll also pull in that scorecard for you so that you can see that too. If I just copy that and drop it in here, you can see how the scores are coming. I'll put it in on the second slide. And I'll update that as we go on. Graham Fraser is saying, McCowan stopped making Highland Toffee 10 years ago. Wow, it's already a thing of the past. That is a shame. I'm kind of sad about that. I didn't know that. Lunaran is saying, did you just say forest wood? Where else would you find wood? I don't think I said forest wood. I don't think so. Well, you can get cut wood, I guess. You can get all sorts of wood, but I get what you're saying. There's that link. I'll drop it in now. And Gary Carew is saying, what do the numbers indicate on the producer's notes? It's just a way for me to keep track of it. I mean, I couldn't keep it going in the same row. It'd be obvious which was which. So it's just to kind of switch it up each time. Okay. If Julie is good to go and see how she's got on with the producers, the independent notes. Julie.
Yes.
Quite different notes from the producer's notes, right?
Oh my gosh, completely different. Yeah, absolutely. Completely
different. One of them's even got a German word in there that we're going to need Stefan to confirm what it actually means. But I think we can work it out, right? It's a Brennerei character. I'm assuming that it's brewery character, or no, Brennerei. Maybe Brennerei isn't a brewery. I don't know. Dusty, the Brennerei character seems clear. Clear quark notes. Anyway, some of these. The idea here is to show that, look, you can write anything you like. If this is what you get, this is what you get. Even if it's parochial, even if it's local to you, even if it's McCowan's Highland Toffee, that's what you get. Is what you need to put down. Right. I'm going to get you to commit first, so that we can do not link, so that we can just get that part out of the way, and then we'll go through some of these crazy notes. For the green one, what did you think matched up? 4. Okay. And yellow?
By default. 3.
Yep.
Red, 1.
Yep.
And blue 2. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what they are this time. I'll
Okay.
wait till they're all in, but you've same score. You've got 2 right again.
Oh, okay.
So 2 of those tasting notes were helpful for you again. You were able to match up 2, and then the other one you were crossed over. So let's pick the one that's easiest to read here. This is from Malt Review. On one of these drams, they've said on the nose apricots, butterscotch, vanilla, zesty lemon. There's lots of things that we get in lots of whiskies, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's oily, buttery, pancakes, and soft meadow fruits. Adding water unlocks apples, especially, and wafers apples. In the mouth, a mix of honey and caramel, chewy in parts. There's apples again, more oils and butteriness. Water unlocks vanilla pod.
Now the green and the blue, I've switched twice in the time that Stefan was on talking, because
Wow.
I kept switching it back and switching it back again every time I tasted them. And it was the strawberry and plum and cherry jam that made me go back to the blue one. But this one, I think you're right, it is quite generic, but I think sometimes it's difficult. So I was having this conversation earlier on, it was with Ian actually the other day, and I was saying I had tasting notes to do for work, and there was just a degree of urgency to me getting these tasting notes done. And that pressure to do it made me just like, oh my God, it just smells like whiskey and I just can't get my nose into it and I just can't. So you then start to find the generic things. And I think sometimes when people are reviewing things, they're not necessarily reviewing it just for fun. They're reviewing it because they've been sent a sample. I don't know if that's the case for this one, but like they've been sent a sample and they've got 5 to do this week.
Yeah.
And they're get through them. And you must get that pressure of, like
coming up with something.
I need to write something, And I think that this one is quite, I don't know.
Is that the green or the blue you're on now?
I'm on the green. And this
is the one that Stefan found a bit nondescript. He found it a bit kind of tasting like, if you're going to write generic notes, have a generic whiskey, this is the generic whiskey he was thinking.
Well, it is a bit, but it's a nice, easy drinking whiskey. I said, I know I'm not supposed to say stewed, but I said syrupy stewed apple. So like stewed apple with golden syrup in it. Thought it was really sweet. And there was a wee kind of interesting polythene note on the tail of the palate on the green one for me. But yeah.
Well,
this again.
I have to say that as we're talking about these generic things, these notes are not easy to match up with the drams, but you have to agree that these drams are remarkably different in the glass.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult to articulate the differences between these different whiskies? To the point that the producers have tried it, the independent reviewers have tried it.
Yeah.
Let's see how. I'm going to don't open my envelope yet. We're going to do that live because I'm the one that's going to derail or save things, right? So we'll do that live when everybody's on together. You can relax a wee bit and just enjoy the whiskies.
All right.
I'll bring you back in a second. Let's get this one out the way. But again, you've been helped 50% of the time.
There you go.
So your tasting notes are helping you, Julie.
I'm so interested to know what ones I got right.
I know. I'll see you back.
No, that's okay. I can wait.
I'll see you in a minute.
All right, see you in a minute.
Excellent. And now I'll jump straight into Ian and I'll get his to see how he's got on with the independent reviewers' notes. I took the independent reviewers from Malt Review this time and also from Whiskybase, Ian. Did you find these any more helpful or still a bit?
It was baffling in the nicest possible way.
Right.
One of the reasons that I like going to a whiskey club, I like going to whiskey festivals and all this stuff, is that somebody says it's a vanilla cream and somebody else says, no, it's the vanilla custard or a rice pudding. It's the same ballpark, but it's what your objective experience is. And
Absolutely.
You asked Julie, why is it so difficult to answer this? And I wrote this down really quickly because it came to my head. It has taken me 42 years almost to get to this glass. So I've got 42 years of my entire life experience, everything I've smelled, tasted, done, everything else, to get to that glass right now, right this second. Julie has a different age. Stefan has a different age. You have a different age. Everybody tasting these whiskies has a different age, a different life experience. Every single moment that's led up to that glass at this time, in this level of water that we've added, everything we've done today, the soap we washed with today, everything else, the whatever, is where we are right now. So the reason that so many of these notes, because I'm reading through these, and they're all got themes, they're all very similar. There's all these, your vanilla note versus your woody note versus your lemon note versus your dark chocolate. They're all variations on a theme. The reason none of this comes out in a coherent whole is, without saying too, we're all individuals. It took me 42 years, or just less than 42 years, to get to this tasting note. And maybe for whatever reason, I've never had a Terry's chocolate orange in my life. So I would never get that note. Doesn't matter. You could put a gun to my head. I would never get Terry's chocolate orange. And I think that is the most wonderful part about whiskey. Because I have sat at a table with you and with other people and gone, I don't understand how you're not getting hot dog brine from this whiskey. And other people can say it's 100%.
If you've never tried any amount of teas or bergamos or eau de vie or all of these things that's used in tasting notes, if you've never had experience or exposure to that, you've got no chance. But I think what you're saying is that you're 42 years in, I'll be knocking up on 51 years in. It's just not enough, because we agree that these drams are 4 different drams. There might be things that link them, but they are definably different whiskies in the glass. And yet I
really want you to tell me they're all the same dram.
No, you know for a fact that they're not. I mean, they're overtly different. Helen's Wood has bought me a dram to say, can we say a huge thanks to you and the generous Byflies who took part in the NDD charity auction? An amazing £895 was raised for my Loma UK. Absolutely, that was tremendous. I was really, really chuffed to see the success of that auction. It was amazing. Hats off to Deb for stepping up and doing that. Hats off to Nikki and Anthony down at New Dram Drinker channel as well. Congratulations to everybody in raising for that amazing cause. And Helen, thanks for bringing that to my attention and reminding me, and for the virtual dram as well. Cheers to you, Helen. Right, Ian, it's time to get you to commit.
I'm 100% committed.
Wow, that one. Every time I'm picking it up as well, these things are tasting different every time. I need to copy across the one from here.
I was, to excuse the Scottish colloquialism, a ball hair away from putting the same numbers again. But I have overall decided to change. So the green dram,
yes,
independent green, I've gone for number 1.
Okay.
Independent notes number 4 was my yellow.
Okay.
Independent notes number 3 was my red. And independent number 2 is my blue. And I've actually highlighted all the things that I've double checked with this. And I'm loving the fact that these are all, I might be wrong again, I might hit another donut, but there are notes in all of these that are tying through as a thread. So I'm getting something from this, and I might be 100% wrong.
Well, let's say that, considering that the notes of the producers were not helpful to you at all, you never matched up one producer's note to the dram, you've managed a 50% hit rate this time. You've managed to through the independent reviewers' notes, you've managed to get 2 of those right. So we're going to start to reveal things soon. I'm going to go through my notes first, but keep a hold of that envelope. We'll open that together and I'll read out my notes, what I got. I'll stick my head on the lines for everyone. Ian, I'll bring you back in a wee second, my friend, and we'll see how we go. Thanks, buddy. Okay, let's reach out to Stefan quickly. Let's check that I'm not missing anything in this chat. Falsgraph is saying, I actually learned what applesauce, very British, tastes like from someone who described a whiskey note. When I tasted the real thing, I was not surprised. Applesauce, wow, that's amazing. So even something, I mean, I thought applesauce was pretty universal, but maybe not. Jerry Miller is saying the greatest thing about tasting notes is that you're never wrong. It's what you taste. And then that is the note. Jerry, you're absolutely right. And that's the thing, is to have confidence. If you taste it, if you smell it, if you feel it, say it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. It is nice to get validation from someone else, but it's not necessary. I'll reach out to Stefan now and bring him in and say, just quickly, Stefan, do you taste that these are 4 different whiskies? As an example, if I pulled the whiskies away from you now, mixed them up behind your back and gave them back to you again, and you didn't know which was which, you would be able to define them, wouldn't you? You would be able to
again say which one was green, which one was blue, and so on.
Yes. They're clearly definably different. Yeah. There are lots of things, and I've picked these because of things that link them together, and we'll get to that on the reveal, of course, but they are completely different whiskies.
All the same distillery.
No, there's no April foolery going on here at all. None at all. And yet, what we've discovered so far, we'll wait and see how you get on with this one, is that we've so far struggled to get notes that can drive us to the glass. Super interesting. I'll pull up this screen share again, and I'll ask.
These notes are also so long and so wordy, and so if you're looking for something, I was looking for the keywords, you can find them. So any one of them could be each whiskey. So it's really because I think it's a bit of a not random, but it's difficult to filter through because they're so long. And so therefore,
yes.
Do you want me to explain the German words?
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In the independent number 2, the Brennerei character is Brennerei is distillery. So there's a distillery character. So this person thinks that in this number 2 there's still the distillery character shining through.
Perfect. And
the other one is also another one. You see, the other whiskey-based thing is also a German author, because he writes about, I don't know why he used the word portfass. So
yes.
Port cask. So and he says, since basically the port cask shines through or comes through, which tells me that one of those is a port finish or a port maturation, which is interesting.
Perfect. So portfass is port cask. Honestly, if I was sipping through these, I think there's only one that I think that there isn't a chance of having a port cask. I think there are 3 that, to my palate, has a chance of having a port cask, but that's just me. So, and the other one was distillery character. I think that makes sense in the context of that sentence. I'd kind of worked that out. But Brennerei is distillery, fantastic. Okay, buddy, let's put your notes in, and then I'll reveal which ones are right and wrong. Go ahead, Stefan.
Green is 4.
Yep.
Yellow is 2.
Yep.
Red is 3.
Yep.
And the blue one is 1.
Okay. So all of you scored. All of you scored 50%. You got 2 right as well. It's quite incredible. I'm going to just mark up what's correct here. We'll work it out quite quickly. And again, it bears no results to the next layer, so we can just kind of get this out of the way. That 2 is obviously correct for Ian. And he also got 3 right, which means that that's the other one that you got as well, Stefan. So what we're realizing here is that the independent reviewers is much more helpful. 50% hit rate, much more helpful versus what the producers were putting on the bottle. Now, this is a small sample. We're just having fun here. This is not intended to tell producers that their notes are terrible or anything like that, but it's to work out these written notes, whether it's on the packaging or the website, or whether it's a review that we look up or something, is helpful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in Roy's notes. We're going to decide whether I'm going to bring in Julie and Ian now as well, and we can all kind of hang out together, and I will take you through my notes, okay? Let's put it in order so that it keeps me right. That's good. I like all the paper opening happening in the background.
That was deafening, wasn't it?
Right, I'll read my notes out for everyone in no particular order. Okay. For one of these whiskies, I have decided that on the nose, it's very citrusy. I got lots of orange peel. I get lots of specifically grapefruit, and I'm still getting grapefruit tonight. That's consistent. The grapefruit is really overt on this one. And cooked fruits, and it's jammy. So I'm talking about like a strawberry jam, like cooked down, reduced fruits. I got some green notes. I got like some tomato vine, and I apologize for my typos in here. I was rushing to get these out a week or so ago. So I'm writing there tomato vine and soft mints, Golden Virginia tobacco. Again, on this palette, on this particular one, more grapefruit, pink grapefruit, cloves, orange peel, orange oil. So you can see that there's that for this specific dram, it's very, I don't want to lift up the glass because I've got coloured dots on it and I'll give it away. But it was so obvious to me, all of these notes. Is there any of these drams that's overtly grapefruity to you?
No, but Golden Virginia, due to a previous history of terrible habits, makes a lot of sense. But weirdly, I still don't have it lined up with the one I think it is. Because the one I've got tobacco notes on, I still don't think it marries up with. So yeah, this is fascinating.
I'm going to check out and say green.
So you're going to commit to green. You think the grapefruity one is green. Anyone else want to differ from that?
I might change my mind when I read the rest of them.
For another one,
I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit on this.
I think for the other one, the other one that was most overt to me was one that is particularly yeasty and estery, and it's all kind of dough and bread dough and cookies, and there was a lactic note as well, Stefan, in there. But the biggest thing I got from it was like prunes and figs, fig rolls. I also got fudge and coffee. I got cookie dough on the palate. I got more and more figs. And then I got a fizz. I got a lovely fizzy effervescent texture. And it was this texture that drew me to this whiskey. It was the texture and the finish, the fizzy effervescence on the finish that drew me back to it again and again.
So that would be blue, potentially. Or maybe not.
So I wrote down Mandarin, and I see Mandarin, Clementine, Roy's notes, and yet everything else I'm reading around that doesn't line up for me.
I'll read out the last two notes, and then I'm going to chat to the barflies after I've read these out. I'm going to because I realise that I've got to keep a poker face here, and I'm potentially derailing things. So there was another one that I got lots of kind of red apple, red fruit. I just couldn't, sometimes you taste colour. I know it sounds ridiculous, but to me, I taste colour.
Yeah.
Yep. So for this one, to me, it was very red. It was red apple skins, red berries, fruit tea, lemon oil, pears from a tin. Funny that you had something from a tin earlier as well. Not suggesting it was the same one, Ian. Sweet clementine and mandarin. Bazooka Joe's, I've spelt that wrong, of course. And bubble gum. I thought this was very alcoholic and spirity, but there was a bit of a sherbet thing there as well. So I got some effervescence in the blue. On the palate, I got bright fruit and spice, more pears, poached this time, malty, runny honey, better than expected. I liked this one, dry and tannic. On the finish, I would say it was a medium finish with orchard fruits, white. I've written white paper. That should be white pepper lingering and drying. So I think that my lineup of what I enjoyed is nothing. It doesn't line up at all with what you guys enjoyed, but we'll go with it. The last notes I had was on one, I got a really lot of barrel char on one, some kind of Turkish delight rosewater thing, custard and Danish, baked apples, vanilla, lashings of maple syrup. And then on the palate on one, I found it to be a bit odd and a little bit dull and not really given a lot. It could be lots of things and nothing at the same time. Some tannic notes, some chili, some supermarket cola. Funny that you talked about supermarket iron brew and I get supermarket cola. We're maybe using the same vocabulary from the Whiskey Club or something, I don't know. And I said it's okay at times on the short to medium finish with a spicy toasted oak. I'm going to let you guys fall into the background with my notes. Can I ask a question before you put us back?
You don't need to tell us anything else. But
Okay.
do you love the yellow dram? Roy?
I do like the yellow dram.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you like the producer of the yellow dram?
I have utter ambivalence for the producer of the yellow dram.
Okay.
And there's nothing drawing me about the producer.
You said we lost points for asking questions.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll give that to you, and I don't think it all that does is tell you maybe where I've put it in my preference.
No, that's all I was asking, just
Yeah.
out of interest.
Because I think my notes don't really suggest that I love anything particularly.
No,
I think I'm just
no,
trying
they
to.
don't.
Nope.
But
They
I
don't.
do.
I'm just going on previous comparisons.
Aye, no problem. Because you and Stefan put it Doug last, right?
Yeah.
But I've got it as my number 2.
Ian's
And
got
last
it as
we did
second.
this, we
Yeah.
had a similar kind of thing about one of them.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think there might be a thread there.
Yeah.
Similar.
You and I need to hang out drinking, Ian, and leave Julie and Stefan to hang out with us.
Well,
they
fine.
can
They're
just
drinking
at a
with
different
each
table.
But this is the beauty of it. And I think it's one of the things we want to get across. Agreement on tasting notes is not a condition of friendship ever. So
It needs to.
we don't need to agree. But if I look at Ian now, I like it when we do. I like it when there's
Yeah.
synergy. I like it when there's
Yeah.
right. Go match them up, Ian. Don't fail me, buddy. Go.
And by the way,
There
I'm
we go.
changing my first one. I was bold with my my greens, so I'm taking it back.
All right, okay.
Okay,
Well,
great.
I'm going to hang out with these guys, and I'll speak to you in maybe just
All
2 or
right.
3 minutes to get you together. This is the last chance before I reveal what the whiskies are, and then it's a semi-blind. Okay, doke. Good.
See you in a bit.
Too funny. Let's pull up this chat. See what you guys are saying. I've almost missed a dram there. I'm very glad I pulled that up. It's Taste and Sensibility. What a name. Has bought me a dram from the States. They said there are subjective parts and objective parts, but no formula for putting them together. Absolutely that, because if there was, we'd be making much more sense of this, I think. Absolutely, I get that. Thank you very much, Taste and Sensibility, for your dram. That looks like a new name, and it's very nice to welcome you in here. Cheers to you. We opened on that tonight when we were discussing it, the subjectivity and the parts that are objective. But there isn't too much. Jimmy Legg has started that again. Who is this Roy character? Good to have you in, Jimmy, always. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Jimmy is saying, disagreement is the basis of any great friendship. Absolutely. A friendship that endures and blossoms on disagreement is a true friendship indeed, isn't it? Dribs and Drabs is in. Good to see you, Dribs and Drabs. He's saying hi. Che Francis is saying, Roy, notes. Okay, here we go. 1 blue, 2 red, 3 green, 4 yellow. That's Che committing to his, and you guys can score yourselves from the exact same way that I am, and let me know how you got on. Hoyt, I've seen some cracking pictures of how you're getting on with your home bar there. Thanks for sharing them with me, Hoyt. I will get a chance to reply to you soon, buddy, but you bought me a wee dram there to say sending a dram from the newly opened, yes, of course, Station Pub, and a fine-looking pub it is as well. I'm glad you've put your lockdown time to good use, building yourself a wee space at home to enjoy, maybe taking some tasting notes, Hoyt. Thanks very much, my friend. Cheers to you. So there are, wow. I mean, the whiskies are remarkably, remarkably different. They really, truly are. And it's frustrating that we can taste just how clearly these whiskies are different by sipping them in contrast. But it's difficult to articulate in tasting notes, in written form, in spoken form. It's difficult to vocalize even what makes them different. So that if you sat somebody down with these blind and tried to guide them to each one, they would have a success in doing so. I think it's very difficult. We're not going to focus on ABV. We're not going to focus on where the whiskies are from, the distillery, the region, whatever it may be. We're not even going to focus too much on cask and things like that tonight. It's really trying to focus on these tasting notes to try and draw us in, to sort it out, to pull it together at the end. And it's down to me and my tasting notes. And then after I reveal my tasting notes and those scores, it'll be down to the guys' own experience of the whiskies. what they've tried before and what they think the whiskies might offer up once they know what they are, to try and do a semi-blind matchup at the end. And Whiskey 101, who's participating here, my mind is so confused now. I am not even convinced these are all whiskey. They are all whiskey, Nick, I promise you that. I wouldn't do anything like that, even on April Fools. The fuse in my mind has blown. Definitely better to nose and taste than read a dram. The thing is that when you're doing this, really, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is work out how much we enjoy the whiskey. It's not black and white. It's not digital. It's not we like it or we don't like it. Everything is on a gradient. And sometimes we try to use tasting notes to try and verbalize and vocalize what enjoyment, how much we are enjoying a whiskey. I've got a clear favourite here tonight, and it has changed over times. My 1 and 2 has swapped backwards and forwards. It's really interesting. And my 3 and 4 has swapped backwards and forwards. But there's 2 I like less, and there's 2 I prefer. And I'll share those with you now. My favourite is blue. So kind of agreeing with Stefan. But I could have quite as easily switched it around with yellow. I find yellow very interesting, striking even, to the point that what Ian was talking about when he's in the mood for something, there are times that I'm actually in the mood for this kind of flavour. And it's that estery thing, it's that yeasty thing, it's that fermentation thing that I like on yellow. I find it very, very interesting. There are other odd notes in there as well that I do find quite challenging, but I think it's an interesting whiskey and a good whiskey. I enjoyed it when I first tried it, and I'm still enjoying it now. It could have been my favourite tonight, but I've picked blue over it tonight on the night. And then my number 3 is the green. The number 3 does nothing particularly badly, but it does nothing particularly well for me. It's right in the middle of the road. My tasting notes, I think I talked about it. I said on the palate, it was a bit odd, lots and nothing at the same time. And on the finish, a little dull. I mean, it was good. It was short to medium with spicy toasted oak. And I've summarized by saying a little dull and a little odd. Odd in the sense that it's just a thing. And I wanted more out of it. I wanted more out of it. When I first opened it, when the neck pour on this, the first few drams out of it, it was much more vibrant, and it switched, and it was going kind of all over the place. Every time I went back to it, it changed, and it's kind of softened out to be something just a bit more pedestrian. And finally, the red one for me, there's a really, really strong bitter grapefruit thing that I get on that dram. There's a bitterness there at its core. It's one of these things that stands out to me on Bushmills. It stands out to me on Bowmore. It stands out to me on this distillery as well, to the point that I can often pick out this distillery because of this kind of grapefruit thing at the core. Friends of mine will know exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone is saying that aren't some flavours dominate to our palate similar to that we have more red cones in our eyes. I think that's true, Everwind. And I know that some people can't eat certain kinds of green vegetables, for example. They're just too overtly bitter. The brain interprets them as being poisonous. Daniel Williams was saying, hi, only in for a sec. We'll catch the replay. Thanks for the coins. The personal note was a great touch. Support for the channel is worth every penny. Daniel, thank you so much for the kind words as well. I'm really glad you've got them. And I'm glad you're enjoying them too. The merch store, has been recharged this week. 2 days ago, I recharged that. I released it to patrons as well. They've ransacked it, but there's still something of everything left in stock. I put a wee bit extra stock in this time because I know how quickly it ran out last time. So it's available there to you. It's on aquavitae.com if you're after the acrylic coins, glass toppers, t-shirts and things. But Daniel, I'm very glad you've got yours. Cheers to you, my friend. And Akshay is in as well, saying, Aquavitae, keep whiskey drinking social in these times. Thanks, Roy. Thanks to you, Akshay. Thanks for coming along and being part of it and making it fun. There's that grapefruit thing again. Wow. Cheers, Akshay. Molasses is saying broccoli must be poisonous. I love broccoli, but my wife doesn't get on with it. I've got a friend who, Linda, she can eat anything. She loves food. She loves exploring food, anything, but she cannot eat a Brussels sprout. It's impossible for her. She finds it appalling. It's poison to her. Anyway, let's find out how we got on with Roy's notes. Was I able to help them or not? Julie came in first. Then Ian's shaking his head, oh no, this isn't looking good. And Stefan's scratching his chin, thinking, no. I'm going to switch these around to keep me right. Okay, so that wasn't any more helpful to you. Well, you can't be the judge of that. You can't be the judge of that yet.
No, I think that you're saying that we should drink together more. It's true.
Speak up, Ian, sorry.
Sorry, I think we should drink together more because I think we've got an overview.
Right, okay.
I like your notes.
Okay, drinking buddies are always welcome for me, buddy. Honestly, let's see how that ties up. So blue, yellow. You picked green, yellow, red, blue. So what's interesting is that we do have a similar flow, I suppose. But my favorite is your least favorite. We're actually all, there's not much consensus on how much. But there isn't an obvious good whiskey here and a bad whiskey, I think.
No.
I think there's, maybe with the exception of one, according to Stefan and Julie. But we'll play it out and let's see how we go. Let's see how we got on with my notes. I'll bring it with the screen share. Will it work with everybody on?
I actually wrote down one of the ones I thought that Julie and Stefan wouldn't like.
Yeah.
And what did you think it was?
Was it that one?
Was it yellow?
I thought they wouldn't like it at all.
Yeah.
And you were right. You were absolutely right.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
So let's see.
I mean, it's not that you don't like it. I think it's still
like at
whiskey
least.
in a way. Yeah,
Like
but at least, yeah.
In the lineup that you have tonight, it's the least. But one of you actually wrote on your notes, I'm trying to remember, not for me. Was that Julie? That wrote that? Yeah, not for me. So maybe if it was only whiskey.
I'm going to come back and say, no, I didn't like it. I just didn't
so
like
you
it.
didn't like it. So you're going to be interested to see what that is, Julie.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me what you think my notes are, okay?
Okay, so green 4.
Yep.
Are you doing your poker face?
I am. I'm doing my best.
Yellow 3.
Okay.
1 red. And blue 2.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Stefan.
Yeah, you gave it away, but I tried not to change it after you gave it away. So not to cheat, but now I see I'm completely wrong. 2 is green.
Okay.
Well, it clearly isn't, but that's what I thought. This is 3. Sorry, yes, it's 3. It's the only one I was kind of confident. This one is 4, and the last one is 1.
Okay. Ian.
Green is number 1.
I need you to save me, buddy.
Green is number 1.
Green is number 1, okay.
Yes. Yellow is number 2.
Okay.
Red is number 4.
Yeah.
And blue is number 3.
Okay. So unfortunately, the results are in, and I was of no help. I can tell you that I was only able to help all of you out on one of your tasting notes.
Wow.
Wow, I would have sworn
I'm gutted. I am properly gutted. How can I want to shout at you now and say, how can you not taste these things?
Can I ask?
I didn't get any. It was so loud. The figs. I was looking for the figs. I couldn't find them.
Oh my goodness!
Stefan, which one was it that you thought you were wrong?
Sorry, Julie. What were you saying?
Which one was it that you were annoyed that you hadn't done the right way? Which one?
Well, all of them, but number 2 being green, that was obviously not the case. But I was right on the 3 being yellow, which I'm quite happy.
Yeah.
At least one right. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, the next thing to do is for me to reveal to you and everyone. They already know what you're drinking, but you can open the last envelope and that'll tell you what's in the glasses.
Now, this is suspicion on 4 because Ian doesn't like it. No, a suspicion on the blue one. Is this the order of the colors?
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
It's not. This isn't in order, is it, Roy?
No.
Ah, okay.
Well, in that case, yeah.
Oh, there are no colours on your page, right?
I'd like to say I'm going to send you a picture. I've written the word Irish above one of my tasting notes, although I didn't write it. I'll send you a picture via WhatsApp to prove it.
Might be the wrong one, though.
I think we can maybe trust you then.
It'll be spectacularly wrong if it's wrong. That'll be the fun part of it.
But what do you think? What do you think is the Irish?
Green, number 3.
Me too.
Completely wrong. But
I'm gonna pull this up so that we can just share what we have here. Do the screen share again. We have a Benriach. This is the 12.
Yeah.
I'll hold this up here. I'll try and bring me up so that you can see the bottle up close. I've had this on the vPub before. I really enjoyed this when I first opened it. Then it got a bit strange and then it went a bit nondescript. So I was curious to get some other opinions about Benriach. This is not the Smoky 12. This is just the standard 12. This isn't the same as the 10 because the 10 is a much more accessible ABV. This is a higher ABV at 46%. Interesting about this, we can see it's 3 cask matured. So we've got sherry cask, bourbon cask, and port cask in this Benriach Speyside expression. Next up, the guys are looking at it. Tune it over to do the blind matchup right now. I'll try and zoom in on this one as well. This is an Irish whiskey. This is Dingle. This is pretty young. This is the batch 4 single malt. But if you look at the label, then you can see again that it's a marriage of bourbon, sherry, and port. Very similar to the makeup of that Speysider from Benriach. I've got another Speysider here, but a completely different take on it. A much more mature product. We have something that's not always available. In fact, this might be discontinued in a lot of markets now. This is Tormore, an official bottling for Tormore at 48% ABV. Not a lot of information here. It does say it's non-chill filtered. That's all. It doesn't tell us what the cask makeup is, but we would therefore assume that it's a mix of bourbon and sherry cask. And then finally, we have a North Star. We have an independent bottler here, and this is bottled from a refill hogshead finished in Bordeaux barriques. This is a Glentochers, which is traditionally a super fruity Speysider, but that red wine barrique might have played a role in this, and this is a 10-year-old example of the style. It's obviously a single cask version, so it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to match this up too. That's the 4 whiskies. I'm suddenly nervous that even after all those tasting notes, even after all that input, it's going to be difficult for them to match it up. Okay. I'm wondering how to do this.
I'm wondering too, because I don't know. That's more important.
I put my labels on and I've sent you a WhatsApp.
So you've locked it in, you've committed to it. No problem. You've sent me a WhatsApp. Fantastic.
Do you want me to do that too?
No, it's fine. I absolutely trust you. There's no need. I think that the chances of there being consensus is minimal. The chances of, yes. I was hoping that I would be able to help a wee bit, but it seems maybe not. But now you know what the whiskies are. Yeah. The lifesaver for you is to try and get to a point where you can match it up as your own experience of how you understand the whiskies to be, and I'll tell you what they are. Julie, what do you think the green is?
I think the green is Dingle.
So you think the green is Dingle. I'm just going to put in there Dingle. Okay. Yeah, yellow. No, let's go to Ian. What do you think it is?
I think the green is Dingle. 100%.
And Stefan?
I'm not going to say Dingle.
Good.
But I'll just risk it.
I
say, yeah, but I'm trying to. Oh dear, this is really tricky, Roy. I thought you'd just give us some standard bottlings that we all know, and now this is all very niche.
Is there such a thing as standard bottlings that we all
well,
know?
you know, British 12. This is all stuff I have never tried.
Come on.
And let's go for the Tormore, just so I have this out, and I can maybe guess the other ones right.
No problem. Yellow, Julie.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yellow, I think, is the Ben Riach.
What would you say, Stefan, for the yellow?
Yeah, Ian's nodding. I then say the Dingle.
Interesting.
And Ian, what would you say for yellow?
I'm following Julia. The yellow is the Ben Riach 12.
And the red, Ian.
Tormore official bottling 16-year-old.
And Julie, for red?
Red, I think, is North Star Glentalkers.
I should have the screen saved. There we go. Red, you think, is the North Star?
Yeah.
And Stefan, the red?
Oh dear. I would say, well, I already lost it. The Ben Riach then.
Actually, I wanted 2 seconds.
He's going to get the bottle. He hasn't. Right.
He's going to see. Okay, Julie, the blue?
The blue, I think, is the Tormore.
And Stefan, you think the blue is obviously the
the Glentalkers.
The Glentalkers is the one that's left.
My apologies.
Okay. Okay. The folk know what's happening here. Do you have that Glentalkers?
I do as well.
What ABV? There was a couple.
I've not opened it. This is why I don't know what it is.
59.2.
59.2.
You do have it.
Mine's closed in the cupboard as well.
Yeah, same here.
Well, I can tell you that it's not great. It's not. I was hoping I'd be able to help you more. One of you has done a wee bit better. Green is our Ben Riach.
Wow.
The 12.
No,
Yellow is our Dingle Irish.
Wow.
1 point.
Well done, Stefan.
Red is Tormore.
Oh.
And finally, that leaves Glentalkers.
I got none right. Well, well
You
done.
did it. And that's not you, Julie. That's the tasting notes that let you down. So that's the scoring was much higher last time.
My goodness.
Stefan comes away this time. Ian, last time, you got 14 out of 16 last time.
Yeah.
This time,
I think we can agree that we all lost, just some lose more than others.
Yeah.
This is really bad.
But
last time we had some like heavy influence stuff. There was a bit of peat. This was much, I felt, much more of a uniform palette to work from, although they were all very different. You're looking at, there was no heavy peat. There was no super sweet. There was no that Bimber was incredibly sweet. All
like Haribo gums.
Yeah, 100%. And so it's interesting. It's so much fun.
I have to agree, this time I did try to pull the whiskies a bit closer together in terms of cask. So in the Glentalkers, we've got some wine cask going on there, and we've got some port cask going on in the Dingle and the Ben Riach. The Tormore was more of a kind of sherry cask, but with all that citrus coming in, I thought it played in quite well. And it kind of bridged the ABVs at 48% between the lower ABVs of the first two. Well, 46-ish, up to the higher ABV of the Glentochers. What strikes me about the Glentochers, there is a bit more grip and spice, but the ABV is not so
Yeah.
obvious there.
I would have thought they were all at the 46, 43.
Yeah.
I didn't put water in
The
any of
toughness
them.
doesn't stand out as being
And yet it's
burning or
59.
something, which probably is just speaks against that way, but also speaks for the whiskey
Yeah.
that it's that it's drinkable at this high strength.
When you give
Yeah.
the order of
Try
them
to see the
again,
positives.
I was so gripped in hearing what they were, I didn't write them down. So the Benriach was what colour?
Green.
Green. And the Dingle was,
Yellow.
Yellow.
and the Tormore was
Red.
red.
Glentochers blue.
Star was blue.
And just I've put the coloured dots are on the top from the very beginning, from when I first poured these way back when. But I mean, once you actually get to sit back, if we go through these now, the Benriach was the one that Stefan suggested was a bit kind of everyman whiskey. It was a bit kind of, and for me as well, my notes were like all and nothing. The Dingle was the one that I was getting all that fudge and that yeasty estery thing, almost like you can literally taste the fermentation side of things in that Dingle.
Yeah.
You guys were getting virgin oak from the Dingle. On the Tormore, that was the grapefruit. That was the grapefruit. That was the grapefruit. It was like so. I'm so sensitive to that in that Tormore. I get it in Bamore and Bushmills as well. And okay, when you go back to the Glentochers and you know that it's the Glentochers, you can taste the wine. You can pick up the wine, I think.
Well, I'm really glad that I put my number one as the Benriach, because without sounding nasty, Benriach's the cheapest. I can pick that up anywhere. That's
Benriach is cheap.
Drinking dram. That's an absolute banger.
The Dingle is expensive for what it is. It's very expensive for a new whiskey, but that's just the way of new whiskies right now, especially new Irish whiskies. A huge boom happening. The Tormore is difficult to get your hands on. I think you would have to pay a wee premium for that Tormore 16 now. I've had that for years. I only opened it recently on a vPub. I don't know what I paid for that, maybe £50 or something. The Glentochers was not expensive. I think it was a £45 bottle or something of that order.
Glentochers is a whiskey that when independent bottlers release it, people like the Good Spirits Company will let me know, because I love Glentochers.
Yeah.
But I love Tormore, and I'm really pleased that they were my top two. I just found the wrong way.
That's right. Aye.
Yeah.
You picked the Tormore, and then the one that you put at the end was the Dingle, the same as Stefan. I think Ian and I kind of like that.
Is virgin oaky? It's got that kind of.
Although there isn't any official virgin oak, it's just maybe the virgin oak is part of the mix.
I think because given that how young Dingle is, the casks here are going to be very active. Even if it's not virgin, the bourbon is going to be first fill. It's going to be super fresh, and it is very sweet. I was getting lots of fudge on this. You guys were getting lots of vanilla and oak and things.
It was interesting, particularly or shocking almost. The Benriach being what I thought. This is clearly a bourbon cask. It's just so typical. The apple and the vanilla and all these things, easy peasy. And there is sherry and there's port, which I didn't find. And now maybe going back, I think, oh yeah, there is. But it's really, really interesting that all of them had some interesting cask. Well, the Tormore we don't know about, but the others had wine or sherry, or wine or port, which I wouldn't have thought. So
I have to say, I'm slightly nervous of what's happening at Brown-Forman. I don't know if it's an April Fool, but we've heard this week that Glendronach are removing their non-chill filtered policy. Yeah. Did you hear that, Julie?
Yeah, I did. It's
not an April Fool, is it?
I don't.
I just think
it was before today that I heard it.
It's atonal to me. It's just so off. Yeah. It's just what are you? Yeah. You've built up this reputation on this, and then you're doing this, and you're not Macallan. You're not Macallan.
Years ago, I once heard somebody say that chill filtering was only what small distilleries did because they couldn't afford chill filtering. That was an excuse for chill filtering. And it's always struck me as a bad excuse for mass marketing. But you can mass market and still not chill filter. It doesn't. You can just glue it down. It doesn't.
Well, the thing is that was, we held up the 43% Glendronach 12 as a torchbearer for that, because they were 43% and it was non-chill filtered.
Yeah,
and it demonstrated to everybody that it could be.
Be done.
We had Ian McMillan on 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's banging on the table at his board for years, trying to get them to stop stripping out all of this valuable fats and oils from the whiskey. He convinced them to do it at Burn Stewart, and that stuck. And it seems to be the way that it's moving. I mean, all the new distilleries that are starting up are saying, and it's not just because they can't, because if they're going to go to a bottling hall to get the bottles bottled, they can tell the bottling hall to chill filter while they're doing it. So that's bullshit. Sorry, that's not true. That maybe it was a story that was kind of rolled out back in the day. I think it's malt whiskey we're talking about. You know, chill filter the malts for your blends, chill filter your blends, whatever you need to do. But malt is precious. Don't add things to it, and don't take anything away. Sorry,
I wonder how much percentage is they lose. I mean, how much, let's say, physical material is it talking about 1%, or is not much, or is it really measurable quantity that gets taken out? Is it just really tiny, a small bucket or small glass of oil?
Ian
or
McMillan relayed the
from a
story.
cask?
He talked about taking the filters, the membranes out of the system, and rubbing his hand across it, and his hand was covered in gunk. And he said to them, you know, you've spent 12, 15, 18 years maturing your whiskey and building this up, and you're stripping it all out at the point of bottling. It's insane. And they said, what is that? And he let them smell it, and it was full of, you know, aromatics. And I mean, these are oils and fats, so it's mouthfeel and texture as well. And then he brought Dave Broom in to do a side-by-side, chill filtered versus non-chill filtered, on the entire range across Tobermory and Lechick, Bunnahabhain and Deanston. And he wrote a piece in Whiskey Magazine. I've linked to it in the description under that video. You can download that PDF. And it's conclusive. And Dave Broom gave all the samples to a colleague as well to sip, and separately from Dave Broom, and it was the same feedback. The changes were night and day.
Is this not the
It costs people money to do. It's an added process. It's cost.
I can understand it for mass market, that kind of lack of understanding, but that, you know, someone's going to be complaining that the whiskey isn't the same as the last time if it's, you know, if it's not coloured and it's not chill filtered. So I get it for that mass market consistency. But for someone like Glendronach, who pride themselves in single cask bottlings and all of this kind of process, you just think, why? Why would you want to do that? That, you know, are you going to make a distinct difference between your single cask bottlings that are so highly revered and your kind of standard core range? Are you going to chill filter them and not chill filter the other, or are you going to chill filter everything? Or
I think if this is true and this is going to prevail, we don't know. I don't know the details.
No, I don't know either. I probably did the same thing as you.
If it's going to prevail, what I would imagine is next is a rebrand and then a repositioning to go after more lucrative markets, honestly, where clarity and stability is key, and they want it over ice, and they want it to remain stable.
I was told it was American golf clubhouse market, because if they put her in a golf, they're having a whiskey and they put the ice in it to chill, because they've actually been out to play golf.
Well, all across Asia, they're doing that. They're making highballs and they're doing these things.
And if it clouds, it causes a problem in terms of the presentation,
in terms of interpretation and perception of quality and things.
Yeah,
listen, it doesn't take much to write on the label, if this whiskey clouds, it's a mark of its quality and its natural presentation, and it's education. You know, the malts have been presented in the same way that blends were presented for 100 years. When malts came along and the malt boom happened, what did we do? We just presented malts in the same way that we'd been presenting blends for years. 40% chill filtered. That's just the way it went out. It's wrong, and it doesn't need to be like that, because the market is becoming more and more aware, and we're becoming more knowledgeable, and we're going to demand, better quality, more natural products. And for them to move away to something that's more cosmetic, what they're doing is chasing a luxury market. So Glendronach is an immediate disconnect for me as an enthusiast. But again, we're talking about facts.
But while they don't get anything directly out of chill filtration, they get something out of not selling at 46, which I suppose might be the reason they stop chill filtration if they sell it at 40, 43, because that's where the money then suddenly is, because suddenly I don't do the maths, 6% ABV less, whatever that means, and how many more bottles you get, but it's something probably like 15% more out of a cask. Maybe that's where the math is, and you can still charge the same because people won't look at the box and just still buy it.
You can bottle your whiskey at 40% and not chill filter it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
if you drop ice in Uzo or a Sambuca or whatever, it instantly clouds. That's never chill filtered. So it doesn't matter about the ABV. It's a good guide for us, but it doesn't, as far as I'm aware, bottling at 40% or 46, you can chill filter. It's just how much water you add to it post that process.
Right. Spirit Works, Thomas and Roy, I seem to remember you get a guava note on Turmore, which is your code for cat pish. So, yes, on Turmore and Bowmore, some Bowmores, a lot of Bowmores, there's that whiff, that herbal green guava.
Really?
I've said grapefruit tonight.
Pea shoot's very handy for that.
Yeah.
So you'd find
a wee whiff of cat's pish.
Oh, that's interesting. Tormore, I always find really creamy and sweet. Maybe it's just been my experience.
I'm super sensitive to it as well.
Yeah.
Steve A is saying now they've removed non-chill. That's right, Steve, non-chill filter from Glendronach labeling. Scott S is saying Annock 12 is 40% and still non-chill filtered. Like you said, Ian, you don't need to. Jimmy Legg is saying Glendronach is going to become a Macallan at my house. And then there will be none here. Mark is saying it seems like it's true about Glendronach, unfortunately. And Falscraft is saying, I hate colouring more, but I can understand chill filtering less in any market. Luna is saying, but why would you mix a Glendronach? You can mix anything you like, Luna, but it doesn't need to be stripped. And yes, but I hear you. Helen is saying a barman worth of salt would surely educate someone that queried a cloudy dram, especially if he said it in advance. Graham Fraser is going to be curious to know what Rachel Barry thinks of this change. I think she might have something to do with it. I don't know. Maybe Rachel will come on and tell us and educate us. Actually, is saying I'll start if I start looking blurry. To you, it's a mark of your sophistication and purity. Actually, that's exactly right. The cloudier you become to me, the more I am attracted to you, actually. And Dave Cummins is in. So good to see you, Dave. He was the subject of that amazing video on Saturday with the tribe. They want to chill filter. Fine, just give us a line of non-chill filtered and it makes everyone happy. That gives them a difficult message out there in the marketplace. Why is this like this and this like this? It's difficult for them to run in both directions, I understand. Glenlivet have done it recently, though, with their new illicit still release. They've brought out a 12-year-old Glenlivet that's unchill filtered at 48%, charging more money for it. That's fine. We'll pay a wee bit more for it.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Actually, it's saying men and women smell differently. That's science. Men and women, men and men, women and women, there's no doubt. And I think we're getting some of that picked up tonight. Well, that's saying I'm still holding out for Glendronach to come out saying, gotcha. You and me both know. Listen, folks, I don't think we've got time for Is It a Space Side tonight. Do you really want to?
I would, if we only got just one, we could do all three. But Julie's got a bottle, so how about Roy, me, and Stefan do Julie's Space Side?
Let's do it.
Or not Space Side. I don't know.
So do you get 3 questions each then, and Roy gets the extra one?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy for Roy and Ian to do this. They're better at this.
Right.
I messed it up last time. I'm quite happy not to mess it up again.
Okay, so me and Roy versus Julie. How's that sound?
I tell you what we'll do. See, for the sake of 3 minutes, it's the pub. It's the vPub. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'll put timestamps below and people can catch up express style on the replay. We'll do it one each. Julie, we'll do the plan. You and I and Ian and I, okay?
Okay.
Stefan, are you able to hang around and stay for the quiz? It's a good quiz tonight. It's a good quiz. You're stay. You can stay. We've run late like we always do. We've hit midnight. Buddy, I'll bring you back in for the quiz. Julie, I'll bring you back in for us at Speyside in a second.
Okay.
And Ian and I are going to go toe-to-toe and see how we get on with this for now. Okay, buddy. Let's bring in this now. We'll run through this as quickly as we can. Remind me, who's got the bottle? Me?
You've got the ball.
You're asking. Fantastic.
Is it a Speyside?
I do have a bottle here on hand. It is a Scotch single malt. It's core range product, generally available everywhere. And I think I know enough about it to answer your questions, buddy. Good luck. Go right ahead when you're ready.
Is it a Speyside?
It is not a Speyside. You can
Is
play
it an Islay?
the first person to guess this as well will win one of these coins. Go ahead, Ian. Sorry, I missed that.
My apologies. Is it an Islay?
No, it's not an Islay. Not tonight.
Is it usually heavily peated?
No.
Is it a lowland whiskey?
No.
Putting a map in my head. Does it traditionally get aged the majority in sherry casks?
No. Getting a lot of no's tonight. You need to work out the region. You need to narrow down where we are.
I know. This is all going wrong.
We're not in Islay, we're not in the lowlands.
Is it a West Coast whiskey?
Yes.
4 questions. Is it a coastal whiskey?
Yes.
Is it a Diageo-owned whiskey?
Nope.
Is it I'm lost. I'm quick. Is it post 1970s distillery?
No. It helps you at all. I'm going to throw you a lifeline. It's literally at the opposite end of that scale.
West Coast, not New York. Oh, I've lost myself. Is it Oban?
No, it's not Oban. You've got one guess left, buddy. You've got one guess.
You've
used up all your questions now. You've got this is your Hurley.
My Hurley is absolutely lost on this.
You're stuck on the mainland, Ian.
Talisker.
Unfortunately, nobody. It's I did say it wasn't a Diageo. It's a Tobermory 12.
You said
Tobermory
Diageo.
12.
Yeah, an idiot.
I think you were trying to be so surgical there. I think you felt a bit more confident about it. But no, if you got onto the islands, I think you'd have narrowed it down because there's not a lot of the big four hanging about on the islands, right? The big four being Edrington, Diageo, Pernod Ricard and Grants. But I should have maybe tried to help you a wee bit more.
No, it's way more fun that way.
The chat was screaming Tobermory 12. There was a lot of them got it quite early on. I'm trying to see who got that first. Scotty S looks like he got it really early. I'm not entirely sure the first one to mention Tobermory 12, but it looks like, unless probably Cresimir or somebody mentioned it way up at the start. Unlucky this time, buddy. You know, you've got a sniper coin, haven't you?
I do. I've got 4.
You've got 4 sniper coins, or you've got 4 coins, haven't you? But you've got this is specifically the sniper coin. This is the one that nobody can buy. This is the one that you have to play this game to get.
That's the one you sent me afterwards because I got Glencairn.
That's right. So you
In
got
that
that
case, I have one of them. Yes, I do.
afterwards. I'm trying to get the camera to focus on it, but it's not playing tonight. That's okay. So
Is your
unlucky,
two-
buddy. Somebody, maybe Scotty S or someone else, won themselves a sniper coin. But you weren't lucky. Now Julie's in the background, nervous now. No, Julie's got the bottle. It's me that's nervous now. I've got to try and do better. All right, buddy. I'll see you for the quiz in a minute. Unlucky. Cheers, Ian. Right, Julie. Here we go. It's just me now, and
Ready?
I've got even better news for you. Because I was winning so many, I started to get handicapped. So I lose a question at the start.
Okay.
Off. Before I even get going, I'm a question down. So let me ask you, Julie, you've got a standard single malt Scotch whiskey, core range, generally available everywhere and known by everybody, yes?
Oh,
It's got to be core range.
you didn't tell me that at the start. Bloody hell. Okay.
Do you need to grab another one?
Uh-huh.
See, I know for an enthusiast like you with access to all the great whiskies and the single casks, I can imagine you've not got a lot of core range kicking about. Do you know what I love about it? You're looking at your floor. It's just littered around on the floor.
It's not so much that it's my top shelf. Right, okay. I'll get one up there. Right, go.
You've got one.
Yeah, I'm going to need to look stuff up though on it. Right, okay.
That's
Ah,
okay.
such a good one for you as well.
Well, we can, but if it's no core range, what chance have we got, right?
Uh-huh.
Right, I've got 9 questions now, and I'm going to just start off with the obvious one. Is it a Speyside, Julie?
No.
Is it a Highland?
No.
Ooh. It's Julie I'm talking to. Is it a Campbelltown?
Yes.
Ha ha. So there's only 3 distilleries down there: Glen Scotia, Springbank, and Glengyle.
Oh, see, you get 6 questions left. I really didn't think that through, did I?
How to narrow it down? Okay, is it an age statement?
No.
Oh, yeah, beauty.
You've got it already. I know you have.
I'm thinking Victoriana, double cask of Glen Scotia. I'm thinking Longrow over at Springbank.
Yeah.
Okay, is it a Springbank distillery?
No.
Oh, is it Glen Scotia?
Yes.
Is it higher than 46%?
Hold on. That's ridiculous. I've not got it in front of me.
Is it 54.1%?
No.
Sorry, is it higher than 46% is the original question.
Is it higher than 46%? Yes.
Is it Victoriana?
Yes.
I thought Victoriana was trying to show off. I thought Victoriana was 54.1.
Mine is 54.8.
Ah, that could be right.
They're always different batches.
That could be right. It could be. I thought it was 54. So I got you. I'm pleased about that because it's been a long time since I've won one. What was the other bottle you were going to try and get me to?
Right. See if you can do it. It's a Speyside. I'll give you a head start.
Right. Okay then.
So it's a distillery. So see if you can do the distillery then.
No bother. Right. The distillery in 6. Let's try it.
Okay.
Is it owned by one of the big 4? That is Edrington, Pernod Ricard, Diageo, or Grants?
Yes.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Is it owned by Diageo?
No.
Is it owned by Pernod Ricard?
Yes.
Does it have an official release?
No.
So the ones that don't have an official release would be Braes of Glenlivet, Glentochers, Glenburgie doesn't have any more. Tormore we've just demonstrated does. Have I just said it?
Surely that does not count as
No, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. Okay, let's go with something else. Does Julie like it?
Yes.
Is it typically associated with being particularly fruity in character?
Yes.
Does it start with G, end in S, and have Glentoch in the middle?
No.
It's not Glentochers.
No, it's not Glentochers.
So it can only be Turmore or Glenburgie or...
See, you threw yourself off your feet with it. Does Julie like it? And this is currently my number one.
Glenburgie.
That's the one.
Oh, off the ropes. Off the ropes. Off the ropes.
It was a Glenburgie. I only had one of my work bottles of it. I thought that was good.
Let me see it. Show us. Share with it what it is.
So
this
is a 22-year-old Glenburgie,
wow.
Scotland.
So do I win a wee sample of that then tonight?
Yes. You want a wee sample of that? I'll send you a wee sample of that.
I'm hanging on to the last wee dribbles of the Julie sample that I got. The Thompson. Wow, that's a flavour bomb that Thompson Brothers released, and I'm very, very grateful for that sample you sent me of that one.
After the last time, you asked me a geography question about my whiskey, and I printed a map this time. It's so organised with my Glenburgie. And honest to God, the only core range whiskey I had on the top shelf was Victoriana. Is that not ridiculous? Anyway, there you go.
But I still could have slipped up. But Victoriana is once you get down to Campbelltown and
That's it. I should have thought about that.
No problem. Right, let's bring in everyone else for this quiz. Thanks to everybody for your patience. Thanks for everybody that's been hanging on so far. I know that we've gone on a wee bit tonight, but it's the vPub. It's okay if we go on. If it's dragging on for you a bit, you can drop out and you can pick it up in the replay, and I'll stay up tonight and I'll do my housekeeping. I'll put the timestamps underneath and you can skip it right ahead to the bits that you've missed and skim through. Thanks to everybody that's for hanging out. Everybody's been playing along in the lounge. I'm quite happy to give a sniper coin out to anybody in the lounge that also guessed Glenburgie as well, along with me. Nick Stilton Massey has just bought me a very generous dram and said, love to dram along tonight. He obviously had one of the sets with us, and he's saying, I love Glentochers, and it was my number one all the way through, but I didn't match the notes. So much fun, and a wee extra dram to at least cover some bottling and postage. Nick, you had no need to do that, my friend, but I'm very, very grateful that you did, and I'm grateful more than anything that you enjoyed sipping along with us, and I'm glad to be able to share that kind of things with you from time to time. Cheers to you, Nick. Thanks very much. Glad you enjoyed it. There's that Tormore thing happening on the palette again. Okay, we've got a multiple choice quiz right at the end. Same format as usual. I think it's an easy one tonight. I'm certainly starting off quite easy, I think, but it's only easy if you know, I guess. It's like anything. So good luck, everybody. If you've stayed to the end, I really, really appreciate it. It's hopefully a good, fun quiz tonight. Guys, if you have a wee piece of paper, like your wee tasting note cards or something, just take them and write an A and a B and a C on 3 pieces. You can hold it up simultaneously at the same time when I'm asking for the answers, and we can see it all at the same time. There's Scottish Dummies, that'll be Drew in saying it's our last Thursday to share with you. Cheers. Going to Sundays. I did mention at the start of the stream tonight, Drew. I'll let everybody know that was the case, and I'm just assuming that that's Drew that's in tonight, that they can head on over to you guys in the early hours and enjoy your last ever Thursday night broadcast. I hope the Sunday night works out for you guys. You can let me know how that goes. Good stuff. Strap in. Question 1. Ralphie's just released new book is called what? He's just released in the last few days a brand new book. Is it called A, Tales from a Whiskey Bothy, B, Stories from a Whiskey Bar, or C, From Somewhere in the Irish Sea? What is the name of Ralphie's brand new book? Stefan, you look confident. Ian looks puzzled. Julie's smiling.
No idea.
Everybody's throwing their answers in. Hold up your wee piece of paper. Now, please share. B, a B, and Stefan. Oops, B.
Can you see
The
it?
lounge are literally filled with bees. It's like a hive. Everybody thinks it's stories from a whiskey bar. I was unable to fool you, but absolutely right. Here is Ralphie's brand new book. I have to say, I bought one of these. I got it delivered to me, and then one turned up at my door, signed by the man himself. So that means that I am willing to give this book to anybody, the first person who can tell me the reason why I called the aliases tonight, why I gave them those names. What do the names of the aliases stand for?
Not you, Ian.
You're not allowed to say. So the bottles we were tasting all were given aliases. They were given the aliases, the Ben, the Pot, the Piper, and the Bon. What are those? The first person to tell me what those are, I'll send this Ralphie book out to them. Watching the chat. The Ben, the Piper, the Bon, and the Pot. Fraser, oh no, Che Francis snagged it. Che, you're lucky on the giveaways. You really are, buddy. You do really well. Bar Patron says G, but no, Bars in Glasgow says Che Francis. Absolutely right. And I think, according to my screen, Che got just ahead of Fraser Thistle, Bars in Glasgow, specifically whiskey bars in Glasgow. The Pot Still, the Bon Accord, the Ben Nevis, and the Piper Bar is what I took the aliases from. But that's Ralphie's book. It's available now with stories from a whiskey bar. Question 2. A leaked label suggested an upcoming Ardbeg special release may feature what? Now, we don't like this thing happening, Julie, do we, when the labels...
No, I don't. It upsets me.
Yes, but unfortunately, it's the thing. And when things are in demand by people like Ardbegs, it makes a lot of news. But what does this suggest? Did the label suggest that it was A, the product of a broken boiler, B, that it was unpeated Ardbeg? It could feature unpeated Ardbeg. Or C, it could feature their first part triple distillation. What did this new Ardbeg label suggest to us? A, that it would be the product of a broken boiler. B, it was unpeated Ardbeg involved. Or C, their first part triple distillation. Anybody confident on this?
No.
Not even a little bit.
A very, very knowledgeable whiskey crowd. It's flying past. Give me your answers now, please, now that they've got their answers in. A, Stefan. Oops. C, Julie. A. Absolutely A. Sorry, Stefan. This is the product of a broken boiler where they had to leave the fermentation running. It got so out of hand they had to lift the lids off. All sorts of crazy things happened while this boiler was broken, and they ended up with. Oh, I thought I actually had a picture. No, I decided not to share an image of the label since it was a leaked thing. I decided that it wouldn't be the right thing to do. But it's called.
He's left. No, he's coming.
Sorry.
I thought Stefan was leaving. He was so upset he got that wrong, but he's just
he's moving his whiskey chair, his dram corner.
Yes, and I'm moving mostly to better router connection, hopefully, because I'm sitting on top of it now. But let's see.
Well, we can see you and hear you. And that's the place, when I think of Stefan dramming at home, that's the spot I imagine you in.
With the barrel.
Question 3. What is Gordon and MacPhail's new distillery in Speyside named after? A, a wooden hillside. B, a nearby oak woodland. C, a pile of stones. Gordon MacPhail, obviously owners of Benromac. Stefan was on presenting Benromac in his last visit behind the bar at the pub. But they've also got a new distillery. They're building it now. But I want to know what they've named it after. They've either named it after a wooded hillside, a nearby oak woodland, or a pile of stones. Hold up your answers, please. Julie, Stefan, Ian. Oak woodland for Ian, pile of stones for Julie. Stefan is frozen. Oh, there he is now. A wooded hillside. Gordon MacPhail's new distillery is going to be called the Cairn. So it's a pile of stones. A cairn is a pile of stones. A man-made pile of stones specifically. A wee mound.
Not just any pile of stones.
Not just any pile of stones, sure.
It was so funny because he was frozen there. He was going.
That's right. Lots of people on 3 out of 3 tonight. I hope you're enjoying a gentler quiz, everybody. Knowledgeable folk. There's a wee picture of the cairn. It's quite interesting, but it looks like a split level thing, so a lot of things will be hidden. A lot of the less pretty things, I think, in visitor centres being put forefront there. Question 4. From 1954 until 1972, Laphroaig was run by a previous A. Stillman, B. Farmer, C. PA/secretary. From 54 until 1972, 18 years, Laphroaig was run either by a former Stillman, a former farmer, or a former PA secretary. I've changed my mind on my favourite dram tonight.
Uh-huh.
Come on, Roy.
I just love the dingle. I love this.
You don't.
It makes me pay attention on every single sip.
No, you
I
don't.
think that's lovely.
It's completely different to everything else that's in front of us.
Yeah,
Completely different.
lovely.
Hold up your answers, please, Julie. C.
We got a bonus
Absolutely.
point. A bonus point for saying it's
You can go right ahead.
Bessie Williamson.
Bessie Williamson.
Absolutely. Bessie herself. And I've got a wee
Named
picture of her.
in the will. Named in the will.
I love this
Yes,
picture.
yes.
I love the style. I love you. I just feel like I would like chatting to this woman, right?
Absolutely.
and
He's in
I've
my-
always-
And buy a
If
few
you know-
casks from her.
Sorry?
60s. Buy a few 60s Laphroaig casks from her.
From her, yes. Give us some Laphroaig casks from the 60s. Absolutely, Bessie. Give us some of the whiskey that you laid down, please. But I've always looked at this picture as well, and if you know Laphroaig, she must be on a boat because this is right out in the bay.
Uh-huh.
This must have been taken while she was on a boat. But yes, she was the first woman whiskey. Well, she wasn't the first ever, but she was the first in the 20th century. And she did a damn good job by all accounts. That's Bessie. Lots of commemorative bottlings recall Bessie Williamson at Laphroaig. Look at this one. Here we have an interesting vintage ad that I love, and I've clearly blocked out certain key elements. 2 more shots for the cause. Loyalty to blank never goes unrewarded. And the woman is saying, I'm with him. And then down the bottom it says, the more you know about blank, the more loyal you are to blank. And then underneath it says, be a blank loyalist. What are we advertising here? Are we advertising A, Ballantine's Blended Scotch? Are we advertising B, Canadian Club? Or are we advertising C, Jack Daniel's Old Number 7? The reason that this intrigues me is that it's very rare to see a vintage ad for booze, especially whiskey ad for booze, where women are featured at all. In fact, it's very rare, Julie, even nowadays, for these ads.
But she's only with him.
That's
She's
right.
subservient to him. It's not
That's
good.
She's subservient to him.
And she's saying, I'm with him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's not a good line.
She's not by herself. Yeah.
And he's got his hand on her shoulder. You stay there, hen.
Just simmer down, hen.
How many of those have you had? What do we think here? Are we advertising Ballantine's, Canadian Club, or Jack Daniel's? Hold up your wee answers when you're ready. Just guessing, Stefan. Canadian Club, A, B. Stefan is correct. They're actually advertising Scotch.
In a million years that would be a Scotch. There you go.
Yeah. And I'll reveal it here. Loyalty to Ballantine's. Scotch never goes unrewarded. And it says here, the more you know about Scotch, the more you are loyal to Ballantine's. Be a Ballantine's loyalist. Apparently a very successful campaign from the late 60s, early 70s. Quite incredible. Okay, question 6, bit of a banana skin potentially. Of the top 10 best-selling whiskies of the world, how many are Scotch? How many of the top 10 are Scotch? Top 10 bestsellers in the world. A, 1, B, 3, C, 5. Look at this. It's like a smorgasbord of 5 out of 5s tonight. Let me try and read through some of these. I can't. There's so many. So many 5 out of 5s. But these folk turn up here every week competing. And they know my formula now. What would you guess? What's the best of the best-selling whiskies in the world? The top 10. How many would you guess are Scotch? Hold up. Just give me your guesses.
Honest to God, I'm amazed if any of the absolute top sellers are Scotch, because it's going to be Indian, it's going to be Jack Daniels, it's going to be, yeah.
I was going to go one, and then I thought, no, it's too obvious. But
I thought it was a banana skin to think too negatively about Scotch. But,
no, if you actually do by bottles,
that's
Scotch
a double banana skin, Stefan. Sorry, Ian.
Scotch
Sorry.
in the top thing in terms of bottles.
The next one in the top 10 is or outside of the top 10 is Ballantine's at number 12 thereabouts. But yeah, it's mostly
only
Indian
that low in spite of that ad. That was such a good ad.
Yeah, I know. I think that ad would have done much better.
Yeah.
You should maybe think about relaunching.
Chris is saying Aquavite. Oh no, I've left my yearbook in the bathroom. We'll need to go out and get it, Chris, for the rest of the quiz. Another banana skin coming up for number 7. Maybe. Tom and Tell's peated range is branded as what? A. Kuboken, C. Balechen, or C. Old Ballantraen? Kuboken, Balechen, Old Ballantraen.
I'm going to get it wrong.
I think there's a wee bit of yeah. Clearly, there are 3 brands that are peated versions of their distilleries, otherwise unpeated product. Hold it up when you're ready. Stefan looks super confident on this one. Julie thinks Old Ballantraen. Stefan thinks Old Ballantraen. Oh no, Kuboken is the Tomatin. Ian, it's confusing to keep up with the peated.
Yeah, I should have trusted my gut.
I think that would be a banana skin, buddy. I really did. Kuboken. No, Old Ballantraen is the Tom and Tell's peated equivalent. Question 8. Maybe another banana skin. Which of these distilleries was purchased in 2003 by a far-sighted independent bottler? Stefan looks like he's being brutalized. Oh no! What just happened? There was a lag in the connection. Did I just give that away? Did you see that? Yes, everybody saw it.
No, I didn't.
Good. Maybe the lag only happened at my side. I pressed the button, nothing happened. So I pressed it again, and suddenly... Anyway. A. Glengoyne, B. Benromac, C. Edradour. All of these clearly are currently owned by who was once an independent bottler. But we're asking about somebody that was particularly far-sighted and bought this distillery in 2003. Which of these 3? Hold up your answer when you're ready.
What's never says here is mine. He's cheating.
Despite my best efforts at giving it away, you're all wrong. It's Glengoyne. Ian MacLeod bought Glengoyne in 2003. Edradour was 2001, 2002, and Benromac was 1993.
Oh my God, there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Colin, Dogs Have No Uncles, is saying, might be A. They all picked up. Some of them saw the lag happening and the switching ahead. So lots of folk in the lounge got a freebie tonight. But you guys were obviously paying attention to me, perhaps. Question 9, second from last. Which of these bottles might bear the signature of Roy's namesake, John Duff? My name was supposed to be John. I come from a whole line of John Duffs. And at the last minute, through, I don't know, some outside interference that I will share with you privately, but not publicly one day, as to why I became Roy Duff and not John Duff. But which bottle will bear the signature John Duff? Would it be A, a Benriach bottle, C, a Benromac bottle, or C, a Ben Rinnes bottle? Which Ben would bear the signature John Duff? John Duff is also responsible for Glenlossie, also responsible for Longmorn.
Oh, crap.
But which other Speyside is he responsible for? Benriach, Benromac, or Ben Rinnes? Hold it up when you're ready. C for Ben Rinnes, C for Ben Rinnes, C for Ben Rinnes. I'm hoping this focuses here. I might need to get it. You're all gonna.
Roy, you're too strong a presence. It's focused on you.
Yeah, that's right. I'll try and get it to block me. There you go. John Duff, you might.
There you go.
Ben Riak.
Ah.
The whiskey we were tasting tonight, Ben Riak. So if you've answered A, give yourself a point. Now, the pass mark for the vPub is usually a 5 out of 10. I don't want to know what your scores are because I can see that you're feeling a wee bit battered up against the ropes. You're not going to make a pass mark, you know?
No, I'm 3. I'm being quite open.
I didn't count. I should have counted.
I didn't keep count.
That's okay. You need to come back next week then. Oh my goodness, we've got millions of 9 out of 9s as well. Incredible tonight. Incredible. There's going to be 10 out of 10s tonight, I'm sure. The last question is, if you haven't had enough, guys, is always an ask that question. It's brutal. And there's so many. I don't think I can even start to shout out. Stu Baby, Orange Wheel Rule, Malt Minion Chuck, Joseph Van Name. Good, well done, Joseph. Great to see you in. Jerry Miller on 9 out of 9. Spiritworks Tom, Stefan Novak. And the ones that aren't on 9 out of 9 are on 8 out of 9. Anyway, here comes the ask that question. It's always a really terrible question at the end. I hope some of you can hold on to your 10 out of 10 tonight. Diageo's 3 smallest distilleries combined can produce about the same as A, Benriach, C, Craigellachie, or C, Tobermory. So if you were wondering what an ask that question is, I think that defines it reasonably well.
That's a ludicrously fast Google search that some people are doing.
Yes, questions are not meant to be easy to search by Google. So not only do you need to know roughly the size of Diageo's 3 smallest distilleries, and you need to be able to do a wee bit of maths. So just guess, guys, I guess. When you're ready, hold it up. B from Stefan, he thinks Craigellachie. B from Julie thinks Craigellachie. B, Craigellachie from Ian as well. I can tell you that Diageo's 3 smallest distilleries are Oban, Nakandu, and Royal Lochnagar. If you add them all up, they come to around 2.8 million litres. Tobermory is about 1 million litres. Craigellachie is 4 million litres. Benriach is 2.8 million litres. Benriach is.
Should have gone with Benriach, given that there was another Benriach.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. So, were there any 10 out of 10s tonight? Google doesn't work if you're tuned into the vPub, says Jimmy Legg. And Andrew Pears is saying, I've said B, but it's probably a double Benriach. You're absolutely right, Andrew. It was a Benriach. That means that it might have been a banana skin for you at the end. Have we got any 10 out of 10s tonight? Chuck is celebrating 10 out of 10 from Chuck Malt Minion. Absolutely fantastic. I'm looking for any others. 9 out of 10. Oh, Gabriel Welding, I'm so sorry. It was the ass hat that stripped you at the end. Saying, damn you, ass hat. I'm looking for any more. A 9 out of 10 from Ryan Sutherland, almost. There must be another 10 out of 10 tonight. Stefan Novak, you'll be angry with me if he didn't make it over the line at the end. Wow. Let's remove that. Listen, I know that you're not happy with the quiz. I know it was hard. It's brutal. But the questions have had to become harder and harder over time because the folk in the lounge are knowledgeable people.
It's smarter and smarter.
And they, yes. And Jerry Miller's got a 9 out of 10, and the ass hats tripped him up at the end. Greg's Whiskey Guide, well done for all the 9s and the 10s out of 10s. Ian Bowes, unbelievably 10 out of 10, he's saying. Ian, tremendous, well done. Fantastic. And Bevo Byrne is saying, I failed again. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The next time that the vPub is on again, it's Menno that's hosting the quiz. Famously, if you think that was a hard quiz, don't appear for a Menno quiz. It's brutal, but it's great fun because all the questions are designed to make you think or consider a topic or pique your curiosity in some way. So I'm looking forward to Menno from Belgium coming back to host a wee quiz that I get to participate in. Fantastic stuff. Listen, guys, I'm going to raise a wee glass. Stay behind if you can, if you've got the time in your hands. Wait till the credits roll and things, and I'll thank you personally after the live is finished. But publicly, I'm going to hold this glass. I need to spend a moment to talk about just how big a deal I know this is. I'm going out to friends, and I'm asking them to give up their time on an evening, very, very late. I'm asking them to step up publicly. I'm asking them to bear all, blind taste, do stupid things like trying to match up tasting notes, all in the name of whiskey education and entertainment, and they'd stay and do visit a space side and quizzes and things. And you're all happy to. I don't know how happy Stefan is right now, but you seem to be happy to do it, and I'll forever be grateful for it. If there's any way I can pay you back in the future, I'm very, very happy to do it, all of you. I'll raise a wee glass of this Tormore, which I'm getting on with just fine. And I'll say Julie Hamilton, Stefan K, and Ian Petrie, thank you all very, very much. Thank you for joining us tonight. Cheers.
Thanks.
Good night.
Wonderful stuff.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Molasses is saying, between the Whiskey Yearbook and Graham Fraser's Facebook post, I'm feeling better armed. Graham Fraser is a fantastic contributor to Whiskey History's pictures and his knowledge and things in the Aquaviti Barflies Facebook group. You're absolutely right, Mo. You're absolutely spot on. Jimmy Legg is saying, great job, Ian, Stefan, Julie, and Roy. Thank you very much, Jimmy. I'm glad you enjoyed it tonight. And Helen is saying, many thanks again for a great VPub. Great fun and great guests too. Cheers all. Spiritworks Tom, I'm so glad to see you in, Tom. It's good to see. I'm missing you, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Cheers, Roy. I don't dump in often enough, but I enjoyed my brief time here tonight. Tom, it's the VPub. You come to the VPub when time and mood suits. I'm looking forward to us hooking up again soon. Simon Ray, my friend Simon, is in. Thank you, Roy and Richard Hall, for the tasting experience tonight. I think I've had some homework to do. Simon, I'm great. It's great that you're able to participate. That means that you must have been doing dram splits with Richard tonight. Fantastic stuff. It's not a blind tasting challenge until it's shared, right? Thanks, Aquavitis, is Curtis Campbell. Curtis, so amazing to see you in, buddy. It's great to have you here. Have a great night, you too, Curtis. Thank you. Jerry Miller is saying good evening to everyone. See you all in 2 weeks. Thanks, Roy. Tom Scaramouche is saying, Roy, always a pleasure to join you. Another great VPub. Yes, as Jerry's mentioned, I won't be here next week. I'm taking Easter break off with the family, but I'll be back on the 15th with our Roddy. Erwin Laranaga is in saying, good night all, and another wonderful VPub. Greg's Whiskey is saying, well done, Roy, to the guests and everyone. Super tired, but it's fun. A wee bit tired too, Greg. I'm really glad that you can stay here when you're an hour ahead as well. Matt Brown says, thanks as always. Off to enjoy the Kalila to finish the night. Matt Brown at Kalila, it's a peach of a Kalila. I'm a fan of sherry and peat. It seems to work quite well together, and that Kalila at nice young age does very, very well. Graham Fraser, many thanks, Roy. Miss you next week. Graham, I'll see you 2 weeks from now. I'll miss you too. I bet you pacing up and down the house, wondering what to do with myself next Thursday night. And P.T. McPeakface is saying, thank you, Roy, for a dram great morning from Australia. Wow. That means you're probably a clear 12 hours behind us. I'm very glad to have you here. Blair Stevenson is saying, thanks for another great VPub. Thank you all. Thank you to everybody. You're all very dearly loved staying with us until this time of the morning or evening, wherever you are. I'm very grateful to have you hanging out. I'll see you 2 weeks from now when I'll be having Roddy to talk about oddball whiskies and get our geek on about that kind of stuff. I'm going to raise the Glen Talkers, actually, the one I picked as my favourite originally, to say thank you all. And I look forward to hanging out with you again in 2 weeks' time. Until then, Slán Siva.